Go button if you like, MJ. Right. Oh, well, I'd like to declare the meeting open. Are there any apologies? No apologies. Trey, would you be upstanding and do the karakia for us, please?
Tūtau mai I runga, tūtau mai I raro, tūtau mai I roto, tūtau mai I waho, kia tau, ai te mauri te mauri ora ki te katoa, me uie
Ai kia. Thank you, Trey. Well done. Right, do we have any urgent business or late items? There was this handout that Sharon.
Yes, I think that could be explained now, Your Worship, so everybody understands that if we haven't already done it. Lily, if you could, please.
Okay, so providing an update on the table included in the agenda item, giving you some space to add comments as we move through the decisions. The rating impact column illustrates the impact on rates, should you choose to fund them this way. Note the highlighted changes in the table. Some were marked as having no rating impact. These are the yellow ones. However, this was saying that they were not asking for more than last year, but want to bring to your attention to the fact that none of the items in the rating impact column are included in the rates baseline, and we've updated the table to reflect this. In addition, it has come to our attention since writing this item that the West Otago Community Centre funding included in the baseline is not what they are expecting. We've added this request to the decisions. Would also like to highlight that any investment fund decisions are coming from equity, as there is no surplus available.
Thank you, Lily. So with no surplus available, I think it's front of mind of everyone for today's decisions. We've got no urgent business, have we?
No, we're just straight to page 114.
Yep. So we pick up from Tuesday's efforts on page 114. Oops, Councillor Cotton. Sorry, conflicts of interest.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. One of the items we're discussing today is on a funding request from the Orange Chinese Can Charitable Trust. I'm in fact the trustee of that, so I will not take any part in any discussion. I don't need to say about community boards, do we? No.
Any further declarations of interest, councillors? Right, so yep, we pick up on page 114, community funding requests. Thank you, Lily. Very helpful bit of paper, this. Make notes.
Perhaps, Your Worship, since we are going to go through them item by item, that we just receive the first recommendation.
Would someone like to move that? Councillor Kennedy, second Councillor McCrosty. All those in favour, please say aye. Carried.
Through Your Worship, this report summarises the additional community funding requests received for the 26-27 annual plan. The purpose of this report is not to represent each submission, but to support council to make allocation decisions in line with the community funding policy, council's living and working strategy, and value to ratepayers. I'd like to note for council's information that all recipients of community funding from last year's annual plan have completed accountability reporting. As well as that, I'd just like to note that when we get to the Gore and Clutha Whānau Refuge, that in a volunteer capacity, I am on the board, so any questions or anything, I'll direct to Mike. Otherwise, I would take the report as read and we can work through them.
Thank you, Lily. Well, who would like to kick off the first discussion? Councillor McAtamney.
Okay, well, I might as well. So we're looking at the Clutha District Combined Museums.
Yes, yep, 2.1.
Yeah, just clarifying the numbers there. So you've broken up. So at the moment, in our rates, we're still budgeting on giving them the 59,000, correct? Because they're asking for 310. But we've only got 193,000 listed in that total rates impact. There's another 50,000 somewhere. Or are we looking to borrow and then rate?
I will pass it on to Trey, potentially to answer that question.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Just those numbers there, they. No, it's all right. So we're looking at borrowing for some of the grant money, the operational grant.
So in the table that we have in the total rates impact, we're proposing that if you were to approve the asbestos removal and the deaccession project, that those would be loan funded over 10 years.
Yeah.
We wouldn't propose to loan fund any of the operational grants. So generally, in this table for the rest of this item, if it's capital in nature, we've proposed a 10-year loan rather than just straight onto the rates. But I suppose that's up for you guys to decide if you're happy with that type of funding.
Okay, yeah.
So, excuse me, Trey, just to be clear, so the total operating funding that the group currently receives is the $58,994.
Yes.
And it's a 15% increase is what they're after over and above that to come up with the 300.
So I suppose for this one, they're asking for 4 separate things. They're asking for an increase to that specific grant of 9,000 or 9,849. Then they're asking for a separate grant for wages for 178,000, 22,000 for the asbestos removal, and 42,000 for the deaccession project.
Right, so they're asking the 15% applies to the 58,994. Therefore, they're after an operational grant of 68,843.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's what the figure that they're looking for. Operational grant, councillors, is 68,843.
So those two other asbestos removal and the deaccession project are both the South Targa Museum, aren't they?
Yes.
Only, yeah.
Yep.
Councillor Kennedy.
It's a good way of doing the combined thing, but it's made it quite awkward to work stuff out. The wages, Lily, I don't think West Otago got paid to do, they didn't have a paid person.
For your worship, in this request, they've asked
They've asked,
So
they're
then-
now wanting a paid person.
for a specific project.
Right. Now, this combined grant is separate to the other grants they get separately, isn't it? Yeah, so the museums actually get a grant separate each to this one. So this combined museum grant is for what?
Sorry, repeat the question.
All the museums get a separate operational grant, okay? And no, they don't. It all goes into this pot and then it's separated.
Yes.
Okay.
So, for your worship, they get an operational grant of 58,994 per annum goes to the combined museums group.
Yeah.
They then split that between the 6 museums to have their individual.
So, and just through you, Your Worship, just some history. Historically, the only grant they got was the Combined Museums grant. And the whole point was that council decided how much funding they got and they decided how to split amongst them. What's happened over time is that individual museums have come to council and asked for different things. And some of those have been granted and some of them haven't. So I suppose the original purpose of that Combined Museums grant has sort of changed as different levels of funding have been approved for different things. So there's probably a discussion to be had through the LTP whether there's still a need for the Combined Museums grant or everybody just puts their hand up individually, which it seems like they're happening through this now anyway. But that's just the history behind that original Combined Museums grant.
Councillor Catlin.
Probably the first question is, so for how long has the 58,000, has that been the last 5 years, or has there been no adjustment for inflation
It hasn't
over the
been-
last 5 years, or is that a figure that's been going for 10 years, or?
I'm not entirely sure how long that figure's been going, but it has been going for some time, but it hasn't changed.
Okay, so probably a question for Steve actually is, so totally take off the ratepayer through the UAGC, a total of 280,419 I see for
it's classed as cultural heritage. District museums, well, I've actually got a different figure here with 63. We give 154,000 to the Otago Museum. And then I see internal others is 62,194. Can we get more explanation on that internal?
That's probably be the overhead. So every activity has an overhead contribution attached to it.
Okay, now does that go up with inflation?
No, so it goes up with all whatever increases there are to the contributing accounts that make up the overhead. So finance, IT, all that, as they increase,
yeah,
then the overheads will increase.
Yeah.
That's
so that
true.
internal cost has increased, but the
Yes.
grant to the museums hasn't increased. And the grant to the Otago has just been flat.
Yes, but you need to remember that the grant, the account is a council account, right, which has a cost to the ratepayer because it attracts overheads in that sense, right? And so that's got to be paid for by rates. And then you have the grant goes out to that. That's paid out. That's a cost to the ratepayer as well in that sense. But it's not like the same as those museums only get one. They only get the grant, and whether overheads go up or not, that's not a reason to increase the grant. Right? The reason to increase the grant would be the purpose for which the grant is given, which might be the expenses, the operating expenses of the museums, which have increased by inflation. Right? So the overheads have nothing to do with whether the grant should be up or down.
Councillor, sorry, Sharon. Sharon's
Thank
just,
you, Your Worship. Just to add to that, the question about has it ever gone up? We can only go back as far as 2018 and it's not changed.
since 2018. Thank you, Sharon. Councillor McAtee.
Well, it's a wee bit of an aside, but it certainly highlights the question of the problem of our overheads that are calculated in the council, but it costs $62,000 to basically make 2 or 3 payments a year to entities which run their own accounts.
And through your worship, we're not disagreeing that the overhead model has got flaws, and we've said that we need to fix it for the LTP.
But although we have highlighted some concerns around the overhead modelling with internal services, this is the challenge that's in front of us at the moment to be discussing. Councillor Cathall.
Are we still asking questions or into discussion time?
I thought you had another question, sorry.
No.
Any more questions for Lily? Councillor Frost.
Through your worship, do any of these museums actually gain any income from anybody that goes and looks at them? So what I'm saying is, are they generating any income at all?
Through your worship, I would say the Walker Museum would have the best model at having a sustainable income. The other ones would.
No.
So they would generate limited visitor income.
That answers your
Discussion
question.
for another day, but at some point something has to be done about the costs associated with the museums if they're not deriving any income at all, and their visitor numbers are extremely low. At some point they need to have a discussion how they're going to deal with that problem.
Well, we'll probably touch on that in the discussion, but does that answer your question, Councillor Frost?
Thank you.
We'll just make the point, the LTP has a workshop, well, as an item for review around museum funding.
No further questions, we'll move into a bit of discussion, eh?
Yeah, just one question. Are we going to break? They're asking for 4 things. Are we going to discuss each piece separately? Hopefully.
Yes.
I think that's the intention, Councillor.
Yeah.
Right, we're open for discussion. Select capital.
Oh, I'll get it off the start. So, myself, I'm actually in support of increasing the funding of this recommendation.
Are you talking the operational funding?
Well, they're asking for funding of 9,849 on top.
So you're talking the value of 68,843?
Yep. So it's an increase. Now that I hear that fund hasn't been increased since, well, as far back as 2018. A lot of voluntary work goes into our local museums, so I fully understand how this operates. This fund goes to the 6 combined museums, goes to the 6 museums, and then they sort it out between themselves. So one year, one museum might get over half of that fund, and the others will get the balance. It's not evenly portioned out. So obviously, they do a heck of a lot of good work. And I know that our local museum is probably the better model in Owaka as far as sustainability goes. But obviously identified a figure that they need to keep operating as the museums. The next set of requests are a different kettle of fish. So as far as this one request goes, I'd be happy to approve it. No, just this particular request. I'm happy to.
So you're
And of
going
course,
down to line 2, you're not starting off with line 1.
I'm looking at page 118.
Yeah, but the line 1 with the grants and wages is the first one in the handout.
There's 4 in the box, but the resolutions.
No, the resolution's on
Yeah, the
118.
resolution's the first one.
That's just,
No, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at the
The
resolution.
recommendation.
I'm looking at the recommendation on 118.
Any further discussion on the increase of operational grant? Councillor Cotton.
Thank you, Your Worship. I like Councillor Catherwood, I'd be happy to support this. I know for our own local museum, they do derive an income from producing the Tuapeka Times. But other than that, it's just an honesty donation box. And the reason they do that is because if people got to pay a lot to go to a museum in our rural areas, they probably won't go. So I think it's prudent, as you said, as Councillor Catherwood said, it's run by volunteers, so we need to support them as much as we can. So I'm happy to support that.
Any further discussion? Okay. Councillor McCroskey, are you all right?
Wade.
Councillor Smith?
All good.
Councillor Kennedy?
Fine, ready for a recommendation.
Councillor McAtemney? Any discussion?
There's probably another question, so.
We're in discussion now.
Oh, yeah.
Councillor Graham?
Yeah, this is a core service. It's one of our core services, and I'm fully prepared to support this.
Any comment, Councillor Frost?
So this, we're talking about 9849 on the wages.
The increase,
No.
98.
operational grant. We're talking about the increase in the operational grant of 98.
No, I'm happy enough with that.
Well, would someone like to make a recommendation? Councillor Brown.
Yeah, council approves the recommendation as read, as written, sorry.
As written. The seconder for that?
Funded from?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It asks for funded from.
Yeah.
Funded from the UAG.
You don't sound overly confident, councillor.
Look, it's, a lot of that, I'm conflicted on a lot of it, so I'm just trying to get my head around.
You should have, we've already gone through the conflicts of interest, so. We stated that at the beginning of the meeting.
You don't know what's going on in this head.
I hate to imagine, councillor. So, sorry, councillor McAtelly, we've got a recommendation on the floor. So, it's to be funded from your recommendation?
UAGC.
UAGC. Do I have a seconder? Councillor McCrosty. So we'll go to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Right, the next recommendation is around the $22,240 asbestos removal for the South Otago Museum. Questions for Lily, please. Councillor Roston.
Thank you, Worship. So Lily, so if we defer this, the museum can still run because it's been running with the asbestos problem previous to this?
I would say so, but from my understanding, yes. We'd have to talk to Ros, but yeah, like I say, it has been running under that condition.
Thank you.
Councillor Cotton.
Thank you, Your Worship. Another question for Lily. Obviously, this submission is from the combined museums, but this one's specifically for the Clutha Museum. I wonder why they didn't individually submit like they have for other things.
So, through your worship, in the February 12th workshop that Tiffany and I came and presented the museum's review to council, the direction from that was that all submissions from any of the museums come under the combined museum, including the ad hoc ones like Clutha Museum. So that's what they've done for the annual plan this year. Yeah, the reasoning for that.
Thank you.
Further questions for Lily, please, councillors. We'll move into discussion then. Councillor Graham.
Surely, through you, Mr. Mayor, surely this is a health and safety issue, and surely we have legal and moral obligations that they don't work in an environment that they can be exposed to asbestos. But I think it's quite clear.
Your Worship, I just respond that I don't believe we have legal obligations. I'll leave the term moral obligations to whatever you want to think about that. But certainly, I mean, we don't own the building. We only provide a grant. So, if we attach health and safety obligations to every grant we gain, then I think there'd be a problem there. We wouldn't offer it.
Councillor Harrison.
It does state in there under the request that it is removal from artefacts held by the Clutha Museum, not the building as a whole. So that could make things a bit different.
Councillor Cathwood.
Well, on my discussions, I'm actually going to take in the actual next three recommendations and just in one hit, and I'm not going to approve. I won't be in support of any of those funding requests of the next three regarding the combined museums. I think I've done that. I think we've given an increase, 9,800. I'll sort it out between themselves because at some point we can just keep throwing money and it'll never become sustainable. So at some point, and I think this with the LTP coming, that we can bring all this funding of these particular museums to the fore. So I feel I've done the right thing by supporting the combined museums with previous recommendation. And, I won't be approving, I'm not in favour of approving any more funding.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Smith.
Yes, but your worship, it was brought up when they come to the submissions that it's artefacts and they're hidden away up on the top mezzanine floor, if I remember rightly. It's only dangerous if they touch them, so at the moment no public can get up there, no one. So it's a process going forward, but whether they're going to stay there as well or not, I think it could be done at the time.
Councillor Frost, did you have some discussion?
Yes, I did have your hand up, your worship. So, I mean, what I was going to say was, I would have thought this was the responsibility of the building owner, if the asbestos is coming from the building. If they remove the asbestos from the said items, are the said items going to be removed so they then don't become recontaminated? So what's the plan going forward to make sure that there isn't further contamination of artefacts within that museum? So I'm a little bit like Mr. Cathwood over there. I won't be approving this one.
Councillor Cotton.
Thank you, your worship. My first question was, who does own the building?
Museum,
The museum themselves?
the trust.
Yeah, okay.
That's-
South Otago Historical
Society, okay. So, and my next question was along the lines of what Councillor Frost has said. How did this stuff get contaminated with asbestos? Is it from being within the building, or has it been brought in with the artefacts as they're being collected? Do we know?
I think it was brought up when they come and spoke to us earlier that it came out of the ceiling.
Around the ceiling. Yeah. Well, on that note, a lot of that's to do with the building owner, I would expect.
Councillor McIntyre.
Yeah, thank you. Am I right though that it came after they did some repairs, or removing some asbestos from the roof, and then
I think you could be correct.
it fell?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have we got any more discussion? Just for my contribution around this discussion, I see the grant for wages, the asbestos removal and the decessation project. I think this is quite a big conversation for the communities of interest. And with the long-term plan coming up, I think this is a very, very good topic that we should actually be going out on consultation to actually see what our district, what our communities, how big a level of investment do they want to make into these assets. So I, a bit like Councillor Catherwood, seem to think it's a far bigger conversation than what we've got in front of us today. So if we've got no more discussion, would someone like to make a recommendation or a number of recommendations? Or
Just one more point though, in case someone makes all the recommendations, just that grant for wages. I believe that they've asked for a lot more curator hours, but since I've been here in the last 3 years, we actually have given some money for curator hours. So if we were to say, yeah, are we going to chop the whole lot, or are we still going to give some?
well, that's the question I'm asking you before someone to make a recommendation.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering whether we still.
I mean, maybe, your worship, that might be a reason why that isn't done all combined.
Yeah.
Have a different discussion when that one comes up.
Councillor.
So I'll happily like to move that council does not approve funding of $22,240 the Cluth District Combined Museums Group 26-27 asbestos removal at the Cluth Museum.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Frost. No one like to challenge that recommendation? We'll go to the vote. So all those in favour, please raise your hands. Each time you can just hold your hands. And all those against, please raise your hands. Motion's carried. We move on to the next recommendation. Would anyone like to move, make a recommendation? Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, I'd be happily, council does not approve funding of 42,120.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Frost. We'll go to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. And all those against, please raise your hands. Councillor Cotton, are you abstaining?
No, I voted for it.
Oh, yeah, thank you. It's just Councillor. Right, we're on to the next and final recommendation that's been put forward. Councillor, you moving that, Councillor Kennedy?
Can we have a wee discussion first?
Yes.
I'm a bit with Councillor McAtamity on this one, that we look at what were they being paid for curated fees. It was mainly Clutha that was getting curated fees. So rather than just chopping it off altogether, so that they've got time to get through for this next long-term plan, where there's obviously going to be some big decisions made to keep them going till the end, till they gives them time to actually do a bit more homework and a bit more thought into what's going on.
So, for your worship, in 2025, the Clutha Museum received grant for wages of $20,000.
20,000.
Yeah. For the last long-term plan, the Topeka Goldfields also had received a grant for that year. I can't off the top of my head think what that value was.
Just, so those grants, Lily, were they ongoing or were they just one-off applications? So like you were saying, the Topeka Goldfields, that was back 2 years ago. So they've not had any more?
No.
Since then, and Bell Clutha was last year?
Yes.
Yes, so it's never been an ongoing expectation from council fund?
Well, for your worship, Topeka Goldfields, they got it for 1 year, as they then didn't come back because their current person that was doing the museum curator role couldn't do anymore on the number of hours. And then Clutha Museum usually come to every annual plan for funding for curator wages. So last year was 20,000, just the 1 year, so that's why they've also come back under this combined umbrella.
Right. Councillor Graham.
Yes, through you. Just clarify that the curator, even though this has obviously come from the South Targa Museum, but that curator does go around all the museums and spends time at each museum. So it's not just for the South Targa Museum.
Can that be clarified, because I think it was the original one from the Topeka Goldfields Museum that was supported by the curators throughout the district. Can you confirm that, please?
For your worship, the training that they get in the particular certificate in being a museum curator, they are able to travel around the district and support the other museums. I know Ros currently at the Clutha Museum does that and provides support to the other museums, and Jess, when she was the curator at Lawrence, also did the same while she was there.
Councillor McAtamney, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sure that since I've been on council, that we have given a grant at each annual plan for a curator.
Yes.
No way of finding that
3
out at the
years.
moment. So I have a reluctance to chop that.
Through your worship, I think the difference clearly is that the previous amounts, which they had asked for more, and I think we actually 1 year provided more once above the 20,000. I think obviously the difference is the 150 odd difference between what's provided, but it's quite clear, isn't it, Sharon, that the 20,000 is not in the baseline. So even if you were going to provide effectively what was provided in previous years, that would still be a cost. But it's easy enough to work out what was. It says that 20,000 was the baseline that we have previously approved for curator wages, as opposed to what's being requested in the 170.
Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of things from memory. I think the last time council supported the curator at the Tuabea Goldfields Museum, it was for 6 months. And then local organisations topped that up, or one did, for a little while. So that confirms what Councillor McAtamney is saying, is there has been support in the past. The other thing is the community board, the Lawrence Tuapea Community Board, did get the curator of the Clutha Museum to do a cemetery study about getting that all digitised. But the community board paid for that, so I think that was for time, so it was almost like on a contract basis. Is that correct?
I am not sure. Sorry.
I think you might talk about something.
Yeah, I don't think that's quite relevant. Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Cathal. Oh, sorry, have you finished?
Yes, sorry.
Right, Councillor Cathal.
Just a question regarding the recommendation. I see here it says Clutha Combined Museums Group, so that it's taken into account our 6 museums. But I see it's asking for assistance or wages for 3 museums.
So for your
I thought the
worship-
combined group are the ones that deal with their funding.
Yeah, so if the recommendation as it stands was approved, the funding would be paid to the Combined Museums Group, and then they would allocate it into those 3 museums.
They requested it.
Yeah. Councillor McCrosty.
It just gets to me a little bit like talking to the ones at Melbourne. All of them are volunteers, and there's 3 curators there that do it as volunteers. So, I'm a bit reluctant on this one, sorry.
And just to, while we're in discussion in respect to Councillor McAtamney's question about the 20,000, this recommendation is for the combined museums. So we're not actually isolating out one museum for a curator grant for $20,000. So if you're gonna line up $20,000 because you've done in the past for one museum, this recommendation is in front of us for the combined museums. So you're going to give 20 to one, and you're going to give 20 to the others as well.
That's right.
So that's just to put out there for discussion. Councillor McAtamney.
Well, again, just to counter the councillor McCrossie's question, are you sure that the main curator in South Otago hasn't also assisted the volunteers in Taika? Because I think she does, Ros McKenzie does do a bit of work around all our museums. So, yeah.
I don't think it's our roles to be delving into how the operational procedures go with the museums, but
But
we're dealing with the recommendation that's in front of us. So I go back to that point with the others that have come to us annually for funding for their curators. They haven't this year. They've come to us as a combined museums group. The recommendation is combined museums, not as individuals, as combined. So,
Well, combined, but pinpointing 3.
yes, yeah, and then the other, that's to do with the wages. So we're looking for a bit of direction on the recommendation. Councillors, Councillor Frost.
That the council does not approve funding of $178,200 to the Clutha District Combined Museums Group in the 26-27 for a curator or assistant.
Do we have a seconder for that?
I'll second it.
Seconded by councillor Catherwood.
Oh, on this subject, you probably asked for discussion.
Yeah, I think it should be worthy of asking for a bit further discussion. Based on those recommendations, councillor Catherwood.
Well, my further discussion would be is that we're now taking $289,000 off the ratepayer through the UAGC for 2,000. It's almost 290,000. Call it. It is over 200. It is 290,000. The UAGC for Cultural and Heritage, remembering that over half of that goes off to the Otago, supports the Otago Museum, and I look forward to moving into the long-term plan to try and sort out a way to make our museums that are more or less run by volunteers in the community, make them sustainable. So I look forward to working with them further down the track.
Councillor Kennedy.
I'm going to go sort of the opposite to that because I still think these curators need some money going forward, and I think to just that they've always had their 20,000 and to just chop now.
No, they haven't.
Yeah, they've come to the council every year for to get some fees for their curators for Clutha. And I see here there is 2 more there, and Tuapeka have come at some stage. It surprised me West Otago's turned up, but hey, we haven't made a decision yet on what's going to happen to our museums in the future. That will come up next year, but for this year alone, I would not pay out the 170, take 200, but look at say 40,000 to go across and combine museums for their what is it? The curators and assistant wages.
Through your worship, are you proposing an amendment?
I would like to, amendment to that. Sorry.
I was just going to say that does make it a bit clouded with the recommendation that's in front of it. So what's the process here? We've got to conflict with what's been proposed, and then if that falls over, then an amended.
No, your worship. So if you think about it, the intent of the amendment is just a change in the dollar amount. So that's why it's an amendment. The amendment in standing orders, you're entitled to make an amendment to the resolution. You do need a seconder for the amendment, and you debate that. That falls through, then you go back to the original motion. That's the sequence.
But I think what Councillor Kennedy's saying here, she agrees with the original recommendation, but she would like to see.
Amend the amount.
So
She's calling.
you're only saying 3, your worship, so therefore I would presume that we vote on this one. So if we don't approve it, and then we can go back and say, well, actually, there's a motion to make it 20,000, because the recommendation I've just made is to not approve it. So even if the amount's changed, it's to not approve that amount.
Yeah.
So how do you approve it if the recommendation is to not approve it?
The proposed amendment is a correct proposal and a standing order. It's allowed if there is a seconder for it, and standing order provides that you address that first. It's always the case. I know, your worship, you could say, hey, let's deal with this first and deal with that, but actually the way it works is that they're entitled to make an amendment as long as it's not a direct negative. And it's not a direct negative because it's all it's doing is proposing to change the amount, right? So you couldn't make an amendment to say I support the 178. That would be a incorrect amendment. But this isn't the case. This is just as you said correctly, it's just changing changing an amount, which is what amendments are expected to do in that sense. So assuming that somebody seconds it, then it's a valid amendment.
Right. So back to you, councillor Kennedy.
So the endeavour.
What's your amendment?
So the amendment is to change the amount to 60,000.
60,000. For who?
Oh, sorry,
40, I thought you said.
40. Yeah, sorry, 40,000. Just trying to
So
add
it'll be
into the
where-
three of them, and then they can decide where it's. But so we amend the amount to 40,000 to the combined museums group for
Would it-
curators and assistants
Would
wages.
it not be amended to 138?
No.
Well, that's the amendment. Is anyone going to second it?
Close. So hang on, we'll get this clear. The amendment is so Ange can capture it.
That council does approve funding of $40,000 to the affected district combined museums in 26-27.
And then councillor,
Keep
just
reading.
where is it funded from?
For
Is
curator
it
assistance.
UAGC or?
This will be funded from where, sorry?
Yeah, UAGC.
Include the Topeka.
Did you get that? Yep. So can you reread the amendment, please, Ange?
So it's change, amendment to amount change. The council does approve funding of $40,000 to the Clutha District Combined Museums in 26-27 for curator and assistant wages at Clutha, Topeka and West Otago museums funded from the UAGC.
So everyone's clear on that? That's the amendment. So do we have a seconder? Councillor Harrison. So it was moved by councillor Kennedy, seconded by councillor Harrison. No further discussion? Yep. Councillor Cathell.
I'll definitely not be supporting that because you've now earmarked it going to a fund of the combined museums group of 40,000. But there's 6 museums involved in that combined museums group, and you're earmarking it towards only half the museums represented in that district. The others are running it by volunteers, dip out completely. So I will not be in support of that amended recommendation.
Councillor McAtee.
In counter to councillor Catherwood, it was the combined group that came requesting funding for 3 museums. I've decided that the combined group decided that they wanted a curator for the 3 museums. I've decided that already.
It's not up to us to decide what groups do.
Oh, yeah, I must have pulled. There's any further discussion?
Your Worship.
Councillor.
I'm happy to support councillor Kennedy's amendment. But I think we need to be giving something to these museums that some of them may not want it, that are listed to here, and it might come back. So, but I'm happy to support the 40K.
Councillor
I
McAtee.
meant to ask one more question though. Have we previously paid for the curator out of the UAGC or was it out of the capital account? I'm calling it investment capital, not investment service.
Okay, that was surplus.
Sharon.
Sharon, could you please oblige?
Question me, Your Worship. Is funded curators wages a variety of ways? Sometimes through the UAGC, sometimes through the service from the tenant. So it has to be done. Depending on the decision made.
Yeah, of course. And today's amendment, though, it's clearly stated that it's from the UAGC.
UAGC, yeah. Speaking of investment surplus.
You're right, Councillor.
That's right.
Or am I paying for it to go to?
Yep. Order, please, people. Sharon was talking. Well, while we're still in discussion, I'll go back to my original discussion, and it does highlight an issue throughout our district's museums that there is concern, and it is a bigger conversation to be had moving forward to the long-term plan that we do exist as a council moving forward. But we have an amended recommendation. It's been moved and seconded, so process back to the original.
So just vote on this first.
Just vote on, do we vote on councillor Ross one first?
No, you vote on this one, your worship, and if it's successful, then it becomes the substandard motion, and then you do another vote. If it fails, you go back to the original motion.
To councillor Ross.
Yes, if it fails.
Right. So everyone's clear on that process? So I'll call for a vote. All those in favour of councillor Kennedy's amended recommendation motion, please raise your hands and say aye. Aye. And those against? Aye.
Got that, Ange? 3.
Yeah.
And that's the total number. It equals the right amount.
So that's motion was carried.
Yes, so it becomes the substandard motion. So now you're taking that motion for substandard, for a substandard decision vote. So you still discuss.
Same again.
Same again.
Same again. Right. Discussion. Councillor Catley.
Well, I might as well same again, I'll just say it again. Yep, so before, take $290,000 off the ratepayer through our UAGCs, it's cultural and heritage. And we're now about to approve 40,000 that will go to only half of our district museums. So therefore, I will be voting against the motion. I don't see that here.
Councillor Frost.
Through you, your worship, I'm just interested to know, and I know it's from the combined museums, but if this 40,000 goes to these 3 museums, is it only going to be those areas that are going to be contributing through the UAGC, or will it be everybody?
The UAGC is everybody.
The UAGC is everybody.
Councillor Kennedy.
Just to remind people that our South Otago curator has always gone around all the museums. So the combined group, this is what they've put in, so it will still get shared around. It's their prerogative to make sure that they get round each other.
No further discussion. Councillor Smith. McCoskey. Harrison.
I think we need to support them where we can. We can't support by giving 178,000 obviously, but we can't see them go from having some support with the wages for the curators to having 0. So, and as Councillor Kennedy said, Ross has always been around all of the district museums, so seems fair to me.
Right. Just go back to, like, it is a big topic, big discussion here amongst our communities of interest that do support these museums and district-wide for protecting the district's heritage. So, big conversation moving forward, and if we survive central government's tidal wave coming at us, and we're all here to discuss it with our long-term plan or an annual plan, we'll be really looking forward to it. So this is only one of the few awkward situations we're faced with today. So today's task. So on that note, I would like to ask everybody, those in favour, to raise your hands in favour of Councillor Kennedy's motion. Nothing's changed. Same as before. Those against? Aye. Carried. Right, we'll move on to 2.2 on the agenda. Luther Development Incorporated. Questions for Lily, please. Councillor Cotton.
Thank you, Your Worship. Where has this been funded from in previous years?
For your worship, So the 195,000 where it previously was funded from investment. In 2025, they requested a reduced grant, which I believe is still
No, it was funded by.
UAGC.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Catherwood.
What's the total amount the ratepayer supports, with development? Brandon? What does the ratepayer, how much does the ratepayer?
Through you, your worship, in the 25-26 budget, they received 150. Oh, do you mean the total?
Total.
In total.
One moment.
But I don't know if there's much relevance in that. There's a bit of background information there, Councillor Catherwood, but we're dealing with the value that's in front of us. For the.
I'm just asking the question of what we currently support.
Yeah, but the question's here about the destination management that's in front of us. This is the question in front of us, incorporated with the destination management fund, not the overall.
Mr. Chairman, do you want the question answered? Or
Yeah, on the question answered.
Yeah, but I just pointing out, Councillor Catherwood, this is what we're dealing with here in front of us. So, Sharon, can you please put Councillor Catherwood's mind at ease?
In the current year budget, we give them about 700k, but that's 150 of the destination market we're talking about now, which isn't in next year's budget. But it includes 550 in the current baseline budget.
Yeah, so just to reiterate, that 150 that we're discussing now is for destination management.
Yep.
Yes, today's topic. Thank you, Trey. Any further discussion? Councillor Kennedy.
Are you?
Or question, sorry. Good.
No.
Yeah,
Councillor Cotton.
thank you, Your Worship. Just for clarity, this is already budgeted into the current. It's not.
No, that's that's why we highlighted on
Right,
in there
so,
that
yeah.
it isn't in the baseline.
Come on, councillors, must be a few more questions out there. We've had our agendas for a long
Question
time.
then.
Councillor Catherwood.
So the 150,000, which would be potentially funded from the UAGC, would be a rating impact of?
The question.
0.75. No, sorry. 0.7.
Well,
We'll use a proper calc.
Yeah, we'll get it properly calculated. Did you get that question, please, Sharon?
Yeah, through your worship, the rates baseline after previous decisions before this one was sitting 19.14, and adding 150 gets to 19.
So what was the increase though? What was?
19.5%.
Yeah, but how much of an increase was that 150?
0.36.
0.36?
Just remember, $200,000 is 0.5%.
No, it's, yeah, not. Closer to $494,000 is 1%. Of total rates. Right, further questions for Lily? No questions? We'll move into discussion, please, councillors. Councillor Kennedy.
I will be approving this going on to that side of it. This, without further development, guys, in our district, we would be struggling big time. The amount of work that they do, and I know this is, I mean, hey, they promote, they've worked their way through difficult times into all the systems out there. New Zealand wide to get us known, to get Catlins on the market. Not only the Catlins, it's slowly producing outputs of cycle trails in other areas. And I think, yeah, as councillors, if you go down to that with the development, you're very welcome down there, and they'll show you all the things that they delve in for us as a council. And we need this development incorporated in our area because, like I said, as a council, we couldn't do all this work on top of what they do. So I'll be in favour.
Councillor Cotton.
Thank you, Your Worship. Being the council appointee to the Directors Board, I've got quite a good insight on what this group does and also what they do for tourism, and it is massive. It was a real eye-opener for me, to be honest with you, so I will be supporting this. I think they do a great job, and I actually think it's value for money. I really do. So they've got a lot ahead of them. There's a whole lot going on, and it's a pity we don't have, for example, the amount of Australian tourists that have been coming through the district, and that comes from workshops and trade shows that they go to where they're flying their flag, and it's been really, really successful. So for me, it's something I will be supporting wholeheartedly.
Thank you, Councillor Cotton. Councillor Grant.
Yes, really. Look, I'll be supporting too. They put us in right in that window of a world window, really. And there'll be arguments that that they don't. But how do you quantify it? How do you quantify tourism and that when there's so many other influences like good old Donald and stuff like that? So. No, I see the work that they're doing. I'm sure we'd be in a sadder state if they weren't doing it.
Councillor McAtee.
Well, I've been on this. It's probably my fourth debate with this one. I will be consistent. Last year I didn't vote for it, and I'll stay down that line. This whole destination marketing, I will admit, Councillor Cathwood, that I did vote for it the first 2 years. Last year I said no. We have only been doing it 4 or 5 years. We know Cruiser Development is a good organisation. Tourism marketing is a whole separate component, and anything to do with marketing always has questionable value. Nobody can ever quantify. But I'm looking at it just from particularly last year I struggled with where I was happy with where we funded it last year from rates. If it is to be funded, it just can't come out of that. We can't do it again out of the investment capital because bang, bang, bang each year. Otherwise, it's just becoming a set sum on top of the other $800,000 we do. So, yeah, I will stay to what I did last year, and I will vote against it. But please, if you're going to vote for it, please make sure you take it out of the rates.
Could be a very good opportunity for you to make a recommendation if it does come to that, Councillor McAtee.
Yeah.
Very important topic, Councillor McCroskey. Have you got any comment?
I'm very much like Simon, to be fair. So I won't be supporting it.
Councillor Smith.
100% for it. I know exactly what they do as well. Had a lot to do with them over the years, so it's good value for money.
Councillor Harrison, anything to add? Discussion. Councillor Kennedy's had her. Well, you've already had your discussion. I'm asking the councillors that haven't had an opportunity to say.
I haven't done any discussion.
Yeah, come back to, but these people haven't had a voice yet. So, Councillor Graham, you've had a so Councillor Cotton, Councillor Frost.
Look, yeah, I'll be in the camp where I'm not supporting this. I mean, the business I'm involved in has to fund its own advertising, marketing, all the rest of it. So the people who are, for me, that are gaining out of the tourism industry should fund their own marketing and advertising campaigns, and I should not be subsidising that. So that's where we come.
Fair enough. We're here, everyone's entitled to a voice, and that's part of the process. Or a discussion, Councillor Cathwood wouldn't be able to sleep or didn't you have an opportunity to?
Well, I actually had only asked questions, Your Worship, so actually haven't had any discussion. But the actual problem is that this just keeps coming back. As separate entity of destination management, or is it actually, should it actually be part of the actual grant to improve development, and it's part of their function that they do year in, year out? So to me, that'll have to get tidied up in the LTP where you're separating it out. You know, is it for the greater good of the district? Yes. I came with the mindset where I was not going to support this recommendation, but having listened to Councillor Cotton, he's saying he does see the true value in it. I get a bit conflicted myself because obviously my actual business operates, I highly rely on tourism, people passing through our district. So if it puts one extra person in my door, I'm happy. Yeah, I think the whole topic's got to come back and get wrapped up. We're spending $550,000. Could they perform destination marketing within their budget? It sounds like not. So 700,000 from rates with development.
But please, I'll reiterate again, and even Councillor Kennedy herself linked back towards Clutha Economic Development, whereas they provide the service for benefits of destination management. And that is the topic here in front of us. It's not everything else that the functions provide to our district, but the topic today is destination management. So if we could please stick to that, it would be great.
Your Worship, could I also just add before you move on to the next one is I can tell you that staff and Clutha Development have always pushed for decisions about long-term funding. Council decisions have not allowed us to do that. They've only allowed us to put it year by year.
Right. Oh, that's interesting.
So the LTP, what is it?
Keeps coming. Keeps coming. So no, everything's taken on board. Everyone's comments and the voices. It's good. When they came and spoke to us, remember that just a few weeks ago, and the people they get to integrate with at the other events they attend to, like we are the poor cousins. Yet this amount gets us in the room with all the big bangers, and we're riding on the curtails. We can make a decision today and say, yeah, let's gas, bang, 150 gone. Yeah, great saving. We won't see that true cost of gassing them tomorrow. It'll be in 2 years' time is when we'll start seeing what our decision did, the damage it could possibly do to our district and our tourism. So any further discussion? Any further discussion? Going once, going twice. I know it's a big decision. Everything in front of us are huge challenges.
Yeah.
I get it. But please, have a voice.
Your Worship, I'm happy to move a recommendation when you are ready.
Just when then someone's ready.
Okay, well, I will move that council approves funding of 150,000 to Clutha Development Incorporated in the 26-27 year for destination management funded from the UAGC.
Do I have a second? Moved Councillor Cotton, seconded by Councillor Graham. Big topic, any further discussion? No further discussion? Councillor McAtamney? Righto, I'll have a show of hands, please. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Not quite. My arm's getting sore. We all good?
No, keep it up. Steve will hold
Help me, Steve.
Yes, you can do it. Are you for?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll put that in the picture.
Real good?
Second verse.
And crusty.
Will you make the ones against, please hold their hands this long?
For your names to spell.
Usually
Right, thank you. All those against, please raise your hands. All those against, please raise your hands. Three. Thank you.
Always the rebel.
Right, we'll move on to 2.3 in our agendas, page 119. So as you can see, the 2.3, 2.31, 2.32, and 2.33. A bit two there. So questions for Lily or Mike, please, councillors. Councillor Grant.
Through you, it's probably a question, but it's probably best answered by Councillor Cotton. Is that allowable? Then he's shown a declared a
Just for
conflict of
Chinese
interest
camp, yeah.
on the Chinese camp.
Well, he's abstaining from voting. That'd be, is he allowed to answer any questions, Steve?
No, well, I mean, technically he's not staff in terms of staff questions and things like that. I mean, in the past, the chair has allowed those that have a conflict to remove themselves, but potentially be available to answer questions. I mean, obviously they're not supposed to make statements or anything like that, but you can do that, Your Worship. Obviously, there are different items. There's the entrance to Gabriel's Gully, and there's the which you wouldn't be conflict.
Yeah, I think this is just around 2.3.1.
Yeah. So the point there, Your Worship, is you're the chairperson, so nothing you do is wrong.
Can you tell Marie that?
It's standing orders, Your Worship.
We don't have standing orders at home. I just stand to attention.
So the idea is that for the item, and I think it's going to be difficult because the way the report's written talks about bundling things together in terms of resolutions and other bits and pieces, particularly around potential deferment and that. Perhaps the suggestion is that you separate it so that Councillor Cotton sits aside, and any questions that, if there were any questions about the Chinese camp, they could then be directed and addressed, and that side of it, and then we can work out where the resolutions are going and to which part he's conflicted or not. We can do discussions on the bits that he's not. Away.
Can I just contribute to that, Steve? Because I know Councillor Cotton, he loves answering questions. But for now, could Councillor Graham direct the question to Lily and Mike, and if they can't answer it, then they ask Councillor Cotton for support.
Certainly, Worship. Ideally, staff answers the question.
Yeah.
The issue.
Councillor Graham, after that long-winded discussion, can you please direct the questions to the staff?
I noticed recently there was the Lawrence Chinese camp received a sizable grant. So with that grant, does that allow them to proceed what they were doing without if we deferred that grant until next year, would that allow them to keep progressing? Or do they need our grant to be up and running? Or to progress the way they want to?
Through you, Your Worship. So we asked that question of the trust, and the response from the Treasurer, if I can read it out, is that the OCT funding was accounted for in the budget, as we already had been given the decision. So this funding does not change our CDC application. At the time of going to CDC, we were looking for that 170k, of which poll tax has since granted 50, and we are waiting for a pending grant decision for a further 50. So yes, this leaves a 70k deficit, which we have asked CDC to assist with.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay with that, Councillor Graham? Further questions? Councillors? No questions, councillors? sort of formed a decision. We'll go into discussion. Councillor Catherwood.
Yeah, so after reading the report and looking at other funding models, I'm actually swaying towards supporting the OR. So it's to defer our decision to fund enhancements of the entrance and go down this process. Different times, if we had an investment surplus, I'm pretty sure I could be 100% supportive if we had a different funding model available. Staff have done a good job here looking at a different funding model, so I'm preferring to go with supporting the OR, not deferring.
Further discussion?
Yes.
Your Worship, Councillor Cotton could speak to the all part as it relates to the Gabriel's Gully. And amenity improvements on Ross Place.
Are you, but we're only in discussion, you were talking about.
Yeah, we're only in discussion.
Yeah.
Saying we're on me.
Councillor
So I just look at this from the point of view that there are other funding options, and that the sale of the land in those areas could fund this, $100,000, which they already have 50, is my understanding. So it makes it 150,000 altogether from the council and another 50 to the Chinese camp. That we investigate sale of land allowance to fund those things, because I'm sorry, I won't be supporting either of those here today.
Just to clarify there though, Councillor Frost, the Lawrence Chinese camp one is a separate one, the other one is from the community board. So 2.3.1 is from the actual Lawrence Chinese camp. And the others through 2.3.2 and other funding options.
Yeah, the Gabriel's Gully entrance in Ross Place.
Yeah.
Had a grant of $50,000 in 21-22, which they still hold in their account according to what I've read. It's in their investment fund or something. So what I'm saying is that would bring it up to 150,000.
Yeah, the sale of the land is not for the Chinese camp; it's for the entrance to Gabriel's Gully. Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just on the community board submission, the OR option is a very good option, and I've had discussions with the community board chair about that, and he's very comfortable with that. So, as Councillor Frost has highlighted, there's a little bit of money in the account, and that will start the project off. So there's a whole vision through our community plans about what we do in that area. And the board came last year, in fact, and discussed about an option for where they might put toilets or how they can enhance that area as well. So I think it's quite a good initiative to come up with an idea of disposing or recycling the existing assets that are just sitting there that don't even graze horses, and then using those funds to make the town a better place. So I think that would be a good direction for council to head in. Yeah.
Your Worship, just to clarify and to address what Councillor Cotton can't speak about, is that when we wrote the report, and it's my fault because I helped write the changes, the OR resolution, right, brought in the Lawrence Camp redevelopment in terms of that particular resolution. I'll just make the point that you could do that separately and make a decision. You could still say no to the Chinese camp, or you could say defer it. But what we did as staff, I did, automatically lumped it together in one resolution to defer. So I'll just make the point that, Councillor Cotton might have a different view about the other. But that resolution, I would probably in fact suggest that you think about it in two separate parts. Deal with the Chinese camp if you feel that you need to deal with that separately. You could. Don't just don't worry about the fact that it's put together in a resolution to defer. So just make that point because you're correct, Your Worship, that they were two different requests. I wrote it in an or deferral, lumping it together. So feel free to do it whatever way you like.
Right, further discussion. Councillor McCrossy, look what you can say.
Yeah, just, with the grants that the Chinese camp, et cetera, have got now, even if we defer this to 27, 28, they'll still be able to carry on in some capacity on their project.
Question for Star?
Yeah.
Through Your Worship, I guess from the response that we received, I don't know, but it looks like they have some funding.
Yeah.
So I assume that they could do some work, but I don't know.
So is that a question you would like to answer?
Yes, if I've been asked to answer.
Yep.
Am I? Yeah, the short answer is yes. So as you heard, there's a 70k shortfall, so there's a whole lot of money being raised, so yes.
Councillor Graham.
Now, through you, has there been have we used the sale of land to fund projects before, or are we setting a precedent here, or if we went down that line?
No, through Your Worship, I mean, we do have the ability to put the proceeds from sale of land into different accounts as a result. Some of them, when you sell them, are actual endowment property sales that specifically say you've got to put it back into the community. So these are ways in which things go back to the community. I'm not suggesting that these particular ones are endowment, but we do have those provisions if that's what you choose. We're at surplus land. The idea is that you have two choices when you do it. You either put it into the investment account and generate a return to ratepayers, or you apply it to something, right? That's the whole point. So, applying it to something is just the same as putting it in investment and applying it later. You just have to specify.
Okay.
Councillor Frost.
Through selling that land and then somebody maybe building a house or something else on it, will we gain rates, or are we charging ourselves rates on that land at the moment? Or how does it?
Through Your Worship, yes, every piece of land we sell to somebody becomes their, they have to pay rates on that. And currently we do rating sales. So we do pay rates on land that we own, provided it's rated.
Money go around.
No, we don't put a house on it.
Yes.
All good with that? Councillor Smith.
All good, thank you.
Sure. Looks like you're going to chew that arm off that consider glass. Councillor Catholic, did you
Yes, I'd actually like to
make a recommendation?
make a recommendation here. And my recommendation is that council declares a decision to fund enhancement of Gabriel's Gallery entrance, stage 2 redevelopment of Chinese camp until 27-28. And that the council investigates and proceeds with the sale of land to help fund other land purchases. And that the council staff work with the Lawrence Turnpike Community Board to determine capital and operation costs associated with amenity improvements on Moss Place and all the entrance to Gabriel's Gallery.
Seconded by Councillor Graham. Any further discussion? Councillor McIntyre.
The only thing I would say, particularly around that Gabriel's Gully one, is that the actual rate impact if we borrow isn't that great, and we could still have that land for sale. We rate through loan funding to give to them. So if they were up for it and ready to go, we can still do that and sell the land at the same time.
If I can speak to that, they're up for it. They're ready to rock and roll. They're in serious conversations with the engineers and so forth in Cromwell to do with it. So you feel free to make an amendment. Councillor Kennedy's paved the way. An earlier discussion, and more than welcome to. Any further discussion?
Yeah, if that amendment was made, would it only be for, say, the 50 grand because they already have 50?
I'm particularly talking about the entrance to Gabriel's Gully.
So, right,
Yeah.
so there's already 50 there,
Require
marked for
100.
that.
They want 100.
I know, so the true cost of the thing was 100 grand from what I can remember Jeff stating. They've asked for 100, but they already have 50, so if we gave 50, would get the more.
We need to clarify that, Your Worship. My recollection was the total cost was 150, which they had 50, and that's why they asked for 100. But is that correct, Mike?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
So, would you like to make an amendment?
Could be a long one.
Andrew's got all the time in the world.
I can't make the second one. Yep. I'll move that that we fund 100,000 to the Lawrence Chirupika Community Board for the Gabriel's Gully entrance project, loan funded through rates.
Which rate?
Through which rate? Well, it's got to be the
Have we got a suggestion, staff, to help?
Well, there's multiple options. You could do
Yeah,
it
the
through-
most logical one is the suggestion I'm looking for.
Probably most logical would be if you do it like a streetscape upgrade, which is 20% UAGC and 80% community interest. They already have a streetscape rate, don't they, for lines? Well, it's a township approved one, or you could fund it as there's two other options. You could give it as a grant to UAGC, or you can fund it like a community services / facilities. It's 50% UAGC, 50% community interest. I'd say community board staff. So there's three options here. Four.
I thought you were originally talking about loan funding it, and then when the sale of the land goes through, you pay the money back.
Yeah, Worship,
that would come out
the
of
cost still has to be funded. The loan fund amount still needs to be funded in some way. So the option, the amount here, the $6,000 is what's being suggested. We're just trying to, it's not complicated, we're just trying to get to what should be the right funding source that's appropriate. And there's a couple of options around that.
Yeah.
Would we more likely to be suggesting the more appropriate one is the 50-50?
Through you, Your Worship, it's probably the more common one with previous decisions, that it would be done through community facilities.
Which is
50% UAGC, 50% community interest.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So, I mean, you just got to pick one, councillor, but that's, I mean, if you're asking staff, that's what we would think would be more likely.
Definitely asking staff.
So the community facilities,
6,000, isn't it?
yeah, it's 6,000 under around at 7,000 under that community facilities rate. So that would be the suggestion for your amendment, councillor, to be funded by the community facilities rate.
Yeah. And I can't add on
I'd
the
like to say that.
I can't add on the long extension, which would be that I want council to commit to putting those properties on the market. I can't add that to that.
No,
That's a bit
I'm not going to.
No, peace with surely.
that would be a bit like councillor.
I'm not going to.
One question was
I'm not going to.
email.
The point is, it doesn't change the potential for us, if you succeeded, it doesn't change the potential for the following resolution to be still a deferring resolution, just not for that one, which has been decided. So it would be the Gabriel's, the Chinese camp one, for example. That would potentially continue. You've just pulled one aspect out of that, right? Pulled one aspect out, and you're proposing it as an amendment. Doesn't stop as a consequence of that. If you're successful, it's a change. But I'm not sure if Andrew's got that.
No, I didn't.
Everyone's seconded for this madness.
Well, I can't. Can I?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Councillor McAtamney, what are you trying to achieve?
That I recommend that we approve loan funding of $100,000 to the correct entity that's going to take the community board.
Yeah.
To the Lawrence Tripega Community Board to help fund the Gabriel's Gully entrance project.
Mhm.
Funded by rates through
Community facilities rate.
the community facilities rate and the UADC.
No,
Just the community
facilities is automatically split.
Repayment.
Basically the first resolution.
Yeah.
That's the amendment.
So
That's the amendment, right.
You need a second now, you wish.
So do we have a seconder? Councillor Kennedy. Right, discussion.
question.
Discussion or questions? Both.
You can do both.
Do both. Councillor Smith.
With Simon's proposal, what's the risk that we either don't sell those sections or you don't get anywhere near the money that you need to repay that loan?
Councillor McAtamney hasn't decided on how we're going to do those sections yet. All he did was put that recommendation.
Okay, it's for thought then.
Yeah.
There's a risk.
Councillor Cathwood.
Yes, and my question is, how does that recommendation read? It reads to me that it's just becoming, it's going to be paid, a loan's going to be paid of $100,000 by community facilities rate.
Yeah.
With no repayment plan of selling a section or anything. So no, I won't be supporting that. It's an instant rate rise to.
Through you, Your Worship, if it's loan funding, it'll be the year after it's done. So if it takes the community a bit of time to work it out, it might even be 2 years before that rate impact starts.
Can we add another recommendation after that one? About land sales or not?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if you address this one first.
Yeah.
If it succeeds,
Yeah.
doesn't stop you putting another resolution to address the rest of the submission.
Right. So that would be around the sale of the land.
And the potential deferment of the Chinese camp. So you know, all you're doing is you're pulling in the or statement the decision to fund enhancement of Gabriel's Gully. Should this succeed, you can still do that second part of the resolution.
This is where it's got a wee bit clouded. So we've got one recommendation around the Chinese, another recommendation around the entrance to Gabriel's Gully.
The amendment is talking about Gabriel's Gully.
Yeah, we're talking about the Chinese camp, Gully.
Your Worship, I thought the original recommendation from Councillor Cathwood was all three of the paragraphs at the bottom.
Correct.
Which includes the council fund enhancement for Gabriel Gully's entrance and stage 2 development of the Chinese camp. So the whole, that 3 paragraph covers the whole thing, is the way I read it.
Yes.
And we're just deferring.
Yes, councillor, but there's been an amendment proposed. That is, the amendment is relating to only one of those items. So you have to address the amendment first.
So let's just address the amendment and get on.
Patience, Councillor Frost.
All right, vote them up.
No further discussion.
Good, Your Worship.
Yeah, if anyone want to reread them, please.
So the whole lot,
The amendment.
just the amendment, that council approves funding of $100,000 to the Lawrence Topeka Community Board in 26-27 to enhance the entranceway to Gabriel's Gully funded from community facilities rate.
Loan funded.
Do you want it loan funded?
Yeah, that's important.
Loan funded from community facilities rate.
Right, so we're all clear on that? No further discussion, we'll go to a vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands.
Am I allowed to vote or not?
No, councillor, because it's tied to the whole thing,
Right,
including
Yep.
this worship. Four.
4 against.
Four. You're
You can ask for it, guys.
It's almost playing golf.
4. And against.
Aye.
Is it all of them or?
5.
Yes, except for
Cotton
councillor
abstained.
Cotton.
Right,
Back to the original motion, Your Worship.
back to the original motion, which was,
For the deferment.
That's correct.
So do you
As
want to
written.
read that whole thing out? Council defers a decision to fund enhancements to the Gabriel's Gully entrance and stage 2 redevelopment of the Lawrence Chinese camp until 27-28, and that council investigates and proceeds with the sale of land in Lawrence to help fund other land purchases, and that council staff work with the Lawrence Topeka Community Board to determine capital and operational costs associated with amenity improvements on Ross Place and or the entrance of Gabriel's Gully.
everyone clear on that? Discussion?
Pretty straightforward.
No discussion, I think it's been pretty well fleshed out. So on that note, I'll call those in favour.
Aye.
Please raise your hands.
Unanimous, Your Worship.
Unanimous.
Except for councillor.
Carried. And on that note, we might break for a cup of coffee and a stretch.
Just still put though that.
Are we going into the-
Yeah. when you're ready, MJ. Welcome back, councillors and staff. We will move on to item number 2.4 in the agendas. Questions for Lily and Mike, please. Councillor Cotton.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question from me. When this group came and presented at the verbal submission hearing, they talked about not being far away from leasing commercial space to potential tenants. Has there been an update on that at all?
Not that I've received, for your worship.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Frost.
Through your worship, has there been any indication from this group that once these other rooms are leased out that will cover this $80,000 a year?
I've talked to that because I'm pretty confident when they did come and speak to us that was the long-term goal, that they would be actually financially sustainable now that they've gone through that process and redeveloping downstairs. So they did speak quite confidently, didn't they not?
We have somebody.
Councillor Smith, can you update us, please?
Yes, I can, and yeah, I'm the elected member for the board. So pretty much the proposal was just working with the building outfit to put the walls in downstairs, and most of the tenants that I'm led to believe, without giving away too much sensitive information, are actually people already in the building that want to go there, and there's people screaming out for the shoe cupboards and that out the back and that as well, that are fit for purpose for them. So I gather one thing just to talk about this is a bit like Roger, I know a whole lot of the inside. I was probably dead against it when it was getting built as well, but being on the thing now, they're totally, from what they explained to me and in the report as well, once we've read it, is gone out of the building stage. So now it's into that, let's operational and let's keep it. The whole plan is that they don't need to come back, or would love not to come back each year for that 80K. I led to believe that the shortfall is covered by the tenancy down the bottom once that's done. It's just a matter of putting the walls in for privacy and soundproofing, and some big tenants, long-term tenants want to sign up, but they want to see the concept drawing's already been done at this stage. So I'm pretty sure it's good to go. And then, as you said, there's some other businesses in Clutha that are already penciled in some of the smaller offices and the ones out the back that they don't need the showroom floor sort of.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. You touched on it, you just smeared on it briefly there, but we're not discussing the past, looking at the future here, and we're discussing the recommendation, what's in front of us. So to me, they actually demonstrated when they came and spoke to us, that group, that they are being very fiscally responsible moving forward. And I think they possibly would have felt quite embarrassed actually having to come and cap and hand back to council. So yeah, I do believe they're actually being very, very responsible moving forward. So further discussion. Councillor Acosta.
Could we change the recommendation slightly that we sit on the 80,000 until possibly needed? We've done that with other things in the past. Cross Rex into last year, they came back for more. In the fact that if they get this up and running, they may not actually need this. So somehow wording that it may be available, you don't have to approve it right here and now, but you could come back to us later in the year if needed. Just a thought.
Certainly appreciate where you're coming from. Would you like Councillor McCammony to write that recommendation?
Yes, please.
So just the practical aspect of that, through your worship, Councillor, is that you could certainly do that if it was to be funded from the investment non-surplus, because that's withdrawing at the time. But if you were to fund it from the UNGC, you're obviously rating for it.
Yeah.
You can't rate for it halfway through the year. You've got to actually rate for it when we set the rates. So that in that instance, you could still have, you don't, you could still have the ability to not necessarily release it until or unless you are satisfied that it is necessary. But then all that means is that if you don't actually end up releasing it, you contribute to the, reduce the deficit of council as opposed to anything else. So just be aware of that in terms of that aspect of it. But certainly you can always, if there's some view that it may not be needed, you can always give the approval for it, except if it's to be rate funded, you need to approve the rate fund.
Councillor Cotton.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is probably a question for you, Steve. In groups I've been involved with in the past, we have had facilities set up with council for an interest-free loan if required. So would that have come out of an investment fund? So if
No, I mean, through Your Worship, where we fund something like that, it can still be rate funded or it can be investment funded. So if you're going to go down that pathway, you can fund it from many different sources, not just one source.
Just to add to the discussion, well, questions and discussion, they actually state here that the funding is primarily goes towards covering insurance costs. So it's not really the development downstairs and getting commercial enterprise in there and increasing your income through rents is one thing, but in here it'll come to us and it clearly states towards covering insurance costs. So I think there is a need for it, Councillor McCrosty, rather than being a support mechanism in the background. Because I don't think the insurance company will be waiting for any support mechanism. They'll want paid. Councillor Graham.
Through you, I know you said we're not talking about the past, but I'm sure they came here, was it last year, and said that we'll be sustainable within a year. If you keep feeding the sheep at the fence, it's going to keep coming back. So, and there'll always be something come up, whether it's insurance or, gee, we need new door put on there or something like that. So I just, sooner or later, they're going to stand on their own 2 feet completely.
Councillor Smith.
I was just going to say before Councillor Graham, that I think the point is they do need it now, but there's now some stuff and I wasn't here last year, so, but there is stuff now that's submitted in the plans to make that happen. Yeah, things happen and there's different reasons why it probably didn't happen so quick. It was all put back and it was going to be coffee and no one wanted it, so they decided now that's out of that. So there is definitely a need for it now. The idea is, once again, next year not, perhaps, but never say never, do you? So, and I wasn't privy to last year, so I can't comment on that.
Right. Councillor Catherwood. Thank you for your patience.
So I'm along the lines with Councillor Graham. I've been around the table for a while and it's kept coming back. I mean, we're not going to, you don't leave them high and dry if they got into a sticky situation when they turned back up in the future year. But looking, when they came through and spoke on their submission, I just pulled a few figures out. You get a $70,000 cleaning bill annually with another $194 in wages coming out of it. And I think in that budget, the $266,000 that's being used inside that business model, I think they could find the savings to find this 80,000. So what I'm going with is that I do not approve the funding of 80,000. But if they end up in a stuck situation, I'm sure I'll be there to support them. I can't approve this.
Councillor Harrison.
I support the funding for the $80,000 due to the fact that it's such a well-used facility in our district, used by the entire district. It is something that they are hoping they only have to come back now for, and it is something that they're forward thinking about. in relation to getting new tenants, etc., inside the building. So if it's a one-off thing, hopefully that, as I said, they're not going to have to come back for it again. I fully support it.
Councillor Kennedy.
I will approve the funding for this. This is a new group. This is what, the third year I'm running this business. It's one of our biggest facilities in our district. And they know themselves that, you know, that their dream is to become self-sufficient. And I hope they do in this next year and that they're not back that long-term plan. But I will be approving, I'll be voting for this one.
Any comment, Councillor McAtee? No comment. Have you had comment, Councillor?
Through you, Your Worship, I suppose my comment would be was how many years has this building been open? From what I've read, you know, the comments around, oh, we won't need the 80,000 next year. I mean, so my question would be, if they've got all these tenants that are so keen to lease space and to power, why aren't they already there? Why all of a sudden are they now saying, oh, we need to reconfigure this and we reconfigure that and we can get some more tenants? Why weren't they doing this earlier?
Were you at the workshop when they presented?
Yep.
Yeah, and like they had a process to go through from the original design to have the redesign. They do have processes that they've got to go through too. That's identified and it's happening. That's why it's happening now. The building's 3 years old, is that correct?
No,
How old is the building?
Been open 3 years.
Operating 3 years.
Been operating 3 years, so yeah.
The tenants they have got are actually national tenants, so that these have just come to the light. The buildings are run without being sensitive information are probably in buildings in the town already that aren't fit for purpose. And now they're aware that this might be available because they've done the PR out in the community. It's not going to be just one thing, we can make it. So, yeah, proof will be in the pudding.
Yeah. Councillor Harrison.
I was just going to reiterate what Councillor Smith said, that the tenant is there. They are there ready to commit to, well, they're pretty much committed to moving into the building as long as they have the office space available to them, then that will be a go ahead. So
It's great that everyone's been doing a bit of research. Councillor McAtee, I knew you'd get there in the end.
Yeah, well, just in reply to, they couldn't find a tenant for that big space in the front of the building. And so their plan B has been to redevelop that with multiple tenants. So that space they've had no lease income from that for the whole 3 years. The space on the right-hand side of the entrance.
Councillor Cotton.
Thank you. So are we still questions or discussion?
Discussion.
Discussion.
And questions.
Well, the first thing for me is that they've got a plan moving forward to address the problem, which is lack of funding. So that's really, really encouraging. The other thing is around the 80K, the insurance. Are they on the council insurance schedule that we discussed the other day? Can anyone remember?
I don't believe so, seeing the figures we've seen.
So would there be opportunity there to make savings if this is just for insurance? And the other thing is I agree with some of what Councillor Catherwood says, that you can't keep coming back, but I certainly wouldn't like to see this fail. So being a backstop is certainly vitally important in my eyes. It's just whether we do this now or we wait. But I wonder whether there's that opportunity to decrease the premium by coming through the council insurance thing.
Thank you, Councillor Cotton. Councillor Catherwood.
Oh,
I don't mind waiting. I'll let you have another turn.
Well, no, I'm just thinking about the situation, but it's I mean, they can always borrow this themselves.
Do you know that?
Yes, they could always borrow it.
Yeah, but do you know that you're on that committee?
From whom?
Just to add to the discussion, some of the comments here about the sheep coming to the fence, if we keep feeding them, they'll always keep coming. But in my short career as a local politician, over the last 3 years, I've seen a lot of sheep coming to this fence, and a lot of them are very worthy. So yeah, I think that might have been a little bit harsh, but it is a district icon now. The people I talk to in my new position, that they all note the facility down the street there, and they're all envious and would like one. 3 years in business is they're only cutting their teeth. So and as you'll see by our papers, there's others coming to us too seeking help. So yeah, well, so be mindful, but there's no further discussion. We'll take it to the vote, shall we? Oh, Councillor Harrison.
No, I was just going to say I'd like to do the recommendation that council approves funding of $80,000 to Te Pō o Mātou Ao Charitable Trust in 2026-27 as an operational grant funded from community facilities.
That's Sharon, that you're shaking your head, that's,
Can you see?
which way should it be?
Through you, your worship, it has historically been funded through the UAGC.
No.
Historically, that's how it has been done.
Community facility.
Okay. Oh, just checking, sorry.
Community. Doesn't have.
Doesn't have to be UAGC.
No. Community facilities, right? Not a question.
Oh, hang on. So would you like to change that recommendation?
What did we agree on?
Community
Community facility rate. It's just consider, well, it says here consider which is the most appropriate way to fund this, so it could either be the UAGC or the community facility rate.
So you'd like it to read the recommendation you're proposing, Councillor Harrison, that the council approves funding of $80,000 to Te Pō o Mātou Charitable Trust 26-27 as a community facilities rate. Correct, Minda?
If that is appropriate.
I believe
That's
so.
your recommendation.
Yeah. So do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Smith. Further discussion? Councillor
Just
Cassidy.
a question to clarify the community facilities, right? 80-20 or 50 UAGC and 50, so what would that fall under? Okay.
Councillor Graham.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Do we expect everybody that has an increase in the insurance premiums to come to us for money in the future?
As much as I'd like to answer that question for you, Councillor Graham, I'm sorry, I don't know. Further, Councillor.
For me, this facility, so going forward for me, for it to actually be truly profitable, the council would, local community groups that use it and then come to the council to have the fee paid for using Te Pō. That is being subsidised by the ratepayer through my eyes, and the same if, your development trust or the eyesight is in there, that's funded through the rates. So all those things are cost to the ratepayer already. So for me, for this to be truly financially independent, they should be able to make enough money from this building that they do not require rates assistance. Those groups should not actually need to come here and ask for their money back through the ratepayer. That's what I would be looking for in the future.
Just make the point, Your Worship, that the eyesight, whilst we're still providing the services and inclusive development, whilst it's still providing economic development activity, was always paying leases of some form from wherever they were located.
The operational model that this council has proved that we're now in a serious debt situation. So these are the sorts of things that need to be looked at for us to get that under control, in my opinion. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, councillor Frost. Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think I will support this, but I will not again go on record.
Very good, councillor Cox. Everyone's allowed a voice, that's what it's all about. This is democracy at work. So we've got a motion, it's been seconded, no further discussion, we'll take it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. And those against, please.
Aye.
Right, it's been moved and carried. We'll move on to item number 2.5. Questions for Lily and Mike, please, councillors. Right, we're into it. Councillor Frost.
You're through, Your Worship. So in reading the documentation here, I see they have the volunteer labour estimated 2,500 hours and they're putting a value on that. It seems that to me, I would like to know the value in terms of what it's cost this council through the Community Services Department to support this project where it is today. And I suppose going on from to power for me, in the future, these sorts of things, communities are going to have to be much more innovative about how they consider funding this sort of stuff, because these playgrounds seems horribly expensive to me. And in the original proposal they spoke to, they said they have about 150,000 visitors go through Kaka Point a year. So my suggestion to them would be to work out how you make enough money off those visitors to actually fund some of these things. Because if this is the sort of facility that's attracting those visitors, they should be able to help fund these things. Because we have an attitude in New Zealand where we provide everything for free for everybody that comes here, and I think that attitude needs to change.
Your Worship, just in response, I mean, I think it's important that there is a big history of reasoning about how these projects come about, how they're funded through the living and working strategy, through a whole investment funding approach, and the 50-50 contribution that's been applied. It's the approach that we've worked through has actually been one of the most successful approaches around for getting community contributions, labour and money, and third-party contributions, and investment surplus in the main, investment funding, which is what it's there for, to support the playgrounds. The amount of rate funding to those sorts of projects has been next to zero, and therefore I would just simply suggest, Your Worship, that if councillors, aren't aware of that whole mechanic, we're more than happy as staff to fully explain how that works. But it is councillors that have been around here, I'm confident would say that's one of the most successful funding mechanisms we've had to achieve things in the district for community group requests that doesn't impact on rates.
Councillor Cathcart.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. So probably a couple of key figures here would be council's contributed 135,000 towards the project. If you read the report, so that community's put in 617,000 worth. It's been a massive effort. It's been going on for years. obviously we've got price escalation of the equipment, the original, when they first started out, but 617, normally it's been a 50-50 around our district. Unfortunately, this hasn't come to the end as yet. We haven't got the slush fund, so 135, 71, 200 grand, we've still put in 66% of it. The current is 72,000, 71,000. We've only put in 33% as council. So for myself, I really know how hard this group has worked. If you remember, recently they came to council where a community group in Kaka Point have successfully produced an infrastructure project on behalf of council as such, with the community input, regarding a brand new set of destination toilets that are absolutely fantastic. And they came in well under budget, they were under $40,000 under budget. And to me, they are true destination toilets, and they came in at probably, we're talking 60% of what was Milton overall costs, true destination toilets. So for me, I'd like to see that the council approves the funding of 71,979,000. I'd be happy to make that recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Cathcart. Well, we're still in question and discussion mode at the moment. Councillor Harrison, did I see you have your hand up? Would you like to say something?
What I know from the Kaka Playground Working Group is that they have made a tremendous effort to actually get this project underway and to the point it is at. And I'm looking at it with much interest in future endeavours that I'm going to be undertaking. But yeah, I think it's been a fantastic effort from the team.
Councillor McCross.
I, like yourself and probably Councillor Cotton, I've been involved with one of these at Waihola, and the committees, etc., what they do to raise their funds, they go out, and I'm with Councillor Cathwood here, that you see these communities getting behind it, and I know just the Waihola one alone, the upkeep and bits and pieces, those people are still down there every week working at it. Any issues, blah, blah, blah. And it is a focal point. They've got people from Dunedin come to it. And while they're there, they go to the fish shop, they go to this, they go to that. And it's something for the kids, not just the parents. So I would support this. It'll be there for a long time.
Councillor Smith.
Yes, I'm going to support it as well. And I also take on Councillor Frost's idea, but it just proves a point. If you get the community to do stuff, we're not using contractors, things seem to come in way under budget, and we can put that extra bit of money into going to that next stage. It might be going forward. It's the way to go.
In this community pride.
It's pride, and they'll take ownership.
Councillor Cotton.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Long, I hear what Councillor Frost is saying, but it doesn't quite work like that. In my view, I think this is a great investment. When the council's putting in 130k and they're getting back 600 in an asset, it's an amazing thing. As Councillor McCrosty said, I've been involved in one of these, and it takes a long time and a lot of hard work. And in the case of Lawrence, which is a wee bit relevant, we raised 350,000 from about the same level. So plus the volunteer hours on top of that, which would be similar. So it's what our community wants, and they've supported it by working really hard. So I am got no hesitation to support this project.
Your Worship, I think, might want to answer.
Yeah, through you, Your Worship, there was a question about the number of hours from the Community Services Department to support this project. And I mean, I don't have that exact number, but Lily and I estimate it's about between 40 and 50 hours staff time. There has been a few hours from other departments, from infrastructure, because there's a waste treatment plant right there as well. But yeah, and so it's a pretty small number of hours really when you're talking about $617,000.
Cheers.
Councillor Graham.
Yeah, probably I'd just just a question on something that Councillor Cathwood said at the, saying that Kaka Point was a true destination toilet, implying that Milton wasn't. Can you clarify that, please? Seriously.
Actually, Councillor Graham, I was a bit puzzled myself, like why he was actually talking about destination toilets, and it's actually clearly a playground on our agenda.
Well, there's background to the efforts made by the Kaka Point community. Surely.
Right, so we're still up for discussion. Well, I think we're pretty much exhausted, but yeah, I'd just like to comment here on this group. It's obviously been a heck of a journey for them. And can I just get it clarified, Mike or Lily, that once the project's finished, the assets will be handed over to council ownership? So yeah, when you look at the level of investment we're going to get and the economic return that the community down there are going to get, it'll be fantastic. And it's another one closed off the books. And we've had that directive 2 years ago from the government about a need to have and a nice to have. We just can't slam the book cover closed on these people. But moving forward, we're taking on board what Councillor Frost is saying. And it's questions that we need to be asking our communities moving forward, because they've done their community plans, they've identified their nice to haves, need to haves. For me, I do see it applying pressure on our resources as a council to our staff, because the field is changing and they've already clearly identified some of their need to haves, and then they're jumping to another one. So take on board what Councillor Frost is saying. In the meantime, I would like for someone to make that recommendation. Is that you, Councillor McCroskey?
Your Worship, just before that, the question of funding.
Yeah, well,
Keep going.
Yeah.
Councillor Cathwood thinks he has an answer.
I'll answer you.
Yeah. No, I thought Councillor McCroskey wanted to make the recommendation.
So the recommendation what I put forward is that council approves funding of up to 71,979.57 the Kaka Point Playground Working Group in the 26-27 year towards the Kaka Point Esplanade Playground, funded from capital on the investment fund.
Are you the answer?
Yes. So, seconded by Councillor McCroskey. No further discussion required. Councillor Cathwood. We'll go to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands.
Aye.
Councillor Frost. And those against? Carried. Thank you. Item number 2.6 on our agendas, councillors. Questions, please, for Mike or Lily. Please don't fall over
No
yourself.
questions?
Councillor McAtamney.
If I have one, the only question would be Lily and Mike. We've got no idea so far how their fundraising campaign is going.
Through you, Your Worship, I don't have an update since the verbal submission or from the written submission, but Councillor Smith possibly might be able to.
Yep, 100%. We've had 5 meetings, extra meetings. There's a subcommittee group still working on with Linda. We had the lady that come down that was originally in building on the committee. I can't think of her name. She's a local agenda here with funding options as well. Her name, can't think about it, but emails have gone out to all the existing sponsors over the years that helped get the place built, and they went out last Sunday evening fortnight, and there's phone calls going as we speak to follow up on them, because a lot of people's emails see if they want to be involved in the next stage, because we're 15 years into it. There's a massive big flyer, and if it's not the leader this week, it'll be next week, promoting anybody who wants to come on board. We've got two different options. One is become a member and get some stuff out of that. So early days, but it's all followed on from the stuff that with the development and Linda's team helped us go. So, and as you'll see, and I can report back on there that we didn't use half the money that we thought we were going to be shortfall that we applied for early in the year. So it's early days in that funding, but it's getting some real traction. There's extra time going into it. So.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, no, I realise it's, yeah, I just wondered that because I thought about it last night and I discovered
you got your email.
Our email was in their junk box.
Yeah, so we're following up with phone.
It was an April one, so I just wondered how it.
It's quite complex because they got the emails, but they can't really ring people because a lot of people didn't have phone numbers 15 years ago, and also getting those phone numbers with confidential.
Yeah, that's cool. Yes, it's very early days.
Yep, but it's tracking.
Yep. Which would mean, which is stemming from in the long term, if they get that good assistance from the community, they may not need this full value in the future. Am I correct in saying that?
That would be correct if we get the way with strategy goes forward. And it would even bring in a surplus for maintenance as the long-term plan.
Yeah.
But it actually says in the agenda though that the operating grant for 1 year. For 1 year. So once again, we're talking about here, this topic, the discussion is around an iconic asset for the district as a whole. I've just got a question for staff. Through the current long-term plan, council approved funding for the centre of 54,944 for the 24-25 to be inflation adjusted to 25-26 and 26-27. This was funded from the Lower Clutha Community Facilities rate. So is it only the Lower Clutha Facilities rate that's helping fund this complex?
Yes,
Sharon.
Your Worship, it is, and that is 50% UAGC, 50%
Right, so it might have been better off having that in the report, wouldn't it? That it was 50% UAGC and 50% Lower Clutha. Because reading the report, it gave me the impression that we weren't contributing to it at all.
That's how all community facilities rates work, all 50/50.
Yeah, but at a glance of reading, I felt I wasn't actually contributing to it, but I am, what you're telling me through the UAGC. Thank you. Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Excuse me, when this group came to us in December, I think it was, for that 40K, we found a fund somewhere for that money to come out of, and obviously 20's gone back. Do we know the balance of that small fund? For where the 40,000 come out of and the 20 went back, do we have a balance on that fund where we help them with operational costs?
Yeah, it was just out of the emergency fund, wasn't it?
No, was it? There was some fund we
Certainly
found.
wouldn't have come out of the Parks and Reserves. There's no money in it. I just hold fire. You're going to flesh that out, please. Is Sharon looking at that, or yeah? Councillor Catherwood.
Oh, so the inflation adjusted figure. So what is it? What are we at now? 26, 27.
For your worship, 59,168.
What they're going to get in this coming year.
That's what's in the baseline.
That's the increase.
The increase is 51.
For your worship, there's currently 59,000.
168.
168, that's in the baseline, they would be getting as part of that long-term plan grant that's been inflation readjusted. What they're asking for is 50,832 in addition to that, to get to that 110.
Trey's going to just clarify your question, Councillor Cox.
Thank you. 40,000 was out of the Sports Grounds Reserve Fund. So at the start or the end of last financial year, that was 295,000. So with that 40 coming out.
20
Well, that 20, sorry, it'd be 275 now. The balance of that fund before we put interest on it at the end of the year.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion, questions, please, councillors. Councillor Graham.
Yeah, through you. Look, I have sympathy for the rec centre because they probably had long-term plans and projections and all that, and then along come to Palmer that probably took quite a bit of their income. So they're probably not through their lack of planning, but I do wonder if they have other mechanisms for funding. I did read that they had 100,000 people through the door. If they charge them 50 cents each or extra or whatever, there's 50 grand. So maybe that's too simple, I don't know.
Possibly if you join the committee, you'll be able to suggest that.
Your worship, we already have a responsible and capable person on that committee.
Yeah, I'm not on it.
Councillor.
We have discussed that as a donation because you actually are paying your kids that predominantly use that, and your subs, and the subs are phenomenal for all sports, and that is paying for the court costs. So yeah, you might get some visitors. There is actually a donation box here, but not actually an entry fee one.
If I may, a very wise counsellor once said that you pay for what you get, and hopefully you get what you paid for. And if someone's getting something for nothing, someone's paying and getting nothing. So I see an element of that. Do you want me to say that slower for you?
You confused yourself. I certainly hope that councillor's still not sitting around this table.
All right.
Any further discussion? Councillor Frost.
Through you, your worship. So for me, it's good to see that they're planning to try and get back into profitability, basically, is the whole idea, which is what I've stated for other things as well. And so, yeah, to me, this is a truly community asset. I mean, the numbers going through it in a year, it'd be nice to see those go up over time, but I think it's, it impacts everyone in this district. It was well funded by locals when it was started, and I think they really need to concentrate there. Again, Brendan, because I'm a bit like Simon, my one must be in the junk mail somewhere, so I'll have to try and find it.
That's why the phone calls come in.
I'll be quite happy to contribute again to keep it open and to improve it as time goes along. So this will be one of the requests today that I will actually be supporting. You're disappointed, Bruce? Yeah.
I know it's not easy. Some of the decisions we've got in front of us, they are very difficult. Once again, though, there is a tremendous community asset for the complete district as a whole. Councillor Cotton.
Thank you, Worship. So if this was approved, and could the funding come out of that fund I asked about before, and if so, would there be a rating impact?
Did I miss something? Which fund?
Sport recreation.
Sports ground reserve fund.
Sport reserve fund. With this $250,000.
Yeah, so usually between the wise old heads of Sharon and Jules, you'll get the answer as to whether that's available or not.
Through you, Your Worship, we wouldn't normally fund operating costs out of a reserve like that. It's usually for capital costs, but it's at council's discretion. We only did that through the year because we couldn't set a rate funded as an operating cost because it didn't come through the rate setting process. So we have to find a reserve, a fund.
So the point being that if it's a one-off related grant, then arguably you could use that fund, which doesn't have rating impact. And at any event, no resolution suggesting that it's an ongoing grant, is it?
No.
So it could fall to that if you're looking for a way of not impacting on the investment or the rate.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Does that answer your question?
Yes,
Councillor Cotton?
I'm not going to comment further because lots of
Right. I would, just at this moment, like to ask Jules, would you like to come and sit up the front here? Because by Joe's, when you spoke, you got a reaction of elbows flying in the air. It was most impressive. I need that trick, motivation. We'll start off with Councillor Crosty, Councillor Catherwood, Councillor Harrison, and then Councillor Meakin.
So, probably harken back a little bit. What I'd like to see, and whether people agree or not, is to approve like the 59.168 from the Lower Community, Clutha Community Facilities Trust with the availability, if needed, of the 50,000 from the Sports Reserve Fund. Because if at the moment there's a drive to get other funding, we're doing exactly what's needed with that leeway of what happened last year. And the thing with last year was they actually managed to achieve without using the full amount. So if we went with their 59, we also put in place the availability of a one-off fund from that Sports Reserve Fund. We've covered them, but also they have the ability to reach their funding.
And just to assist councillor, if you're proposing it comes from the reserve, then it's one of those ones where you don't have to disperse it immediately. You can put caveats on it.
Yeah, thank you. You finished what I needed to say.
Councillor Catherwood.
Yeah, well, that was quite a good twist by Councillor Crosty. Do quite like the idea. It's pretty obvious that the costs have increased substantially. I think it's another big long-term plan decision that's going to have to come around about, you know, we keep seeing these same community facilities, same community groups coming back, over the fence, carry on. So anyway, I was of the opinion I will not approve extra funding of 50,000, 59. I was more of the angle, obviously the costs have increased well beyond the inflation we've been allowing for. And I was actually thinking rounding the 59 to 60 and giving 20% on top of that, which turns into 73,000, because that's probably the reality of where it lies to support that community facility going forward. So the figures 22,000. Our rates are going up 20%. Let's go them 20%. It's funded by the community facilities rate. They're going to be back next year, aren't they?
Hope not.
Sure they are. But anyway, it's my thoughts.
Thank you for sharing them. Councillor Harrison.
Yeah, mine was along the same lines as Councillor Crosty. In fact, that if we do have that 59,000 that have already been allocated, that we do give them the rest out of the Sports Ground Reserve Fund if needed.
Thank you. Councillor McTimmie.
No.
Why the change of heart?
No, of course not. Of course.
Go on.
Dean's idea wasn't a bad one.
Yeah.
Where's that pixie caramel? Does he need that?
I did have a question, but I don't want to ask it because it might sound as if I'm being sarcastic.
Well, then ask it. Councillor?
What part of the increased costs is insurance?
Major. Quite large. Maintenance.
I gather that it was all on the report. I'm just going to probably there is a need for that.
I've just been
Right over now. Just when you're ready, Councillor Smith and Councillor Cathwood. You guys all right?
What am I ready for?
While you're having a bit of a conversation over there, we're trying to keep things moving.
Carry on.
So would someone like to make a recommendation? There's no further discussion.
Come on.
So, Councillor McCroskey.
Yeah.
Councillor Smith.
I would actually like to approve that the council approves the funding of the 5832 Cross Recreation Centre Incorporated as an increase to the operational grant from 59,168 to 1,100
Funded
from
the reserve.
the reserve. Yeah, cool. Just to get the ball rolling.
When you say the reserve, so let's be clear, the sports ground reserve. Which will leave a balance of trade, please, in the sports ground reserve.
It's just the additional that'll be going in the reserve.
Yeah. So that's what he means.
It wasn't stated though, is that whole lot coming out of that reserve, or just
the 50.
It's already approved that first. It's only the additional, isn't it?
Yes,
Yes,
it's the,
that's right.
it's the additional 50,000.
She's sitting where? In the investment fund?
No, from the sports
Councillor
ground reserve.
Cathwood, have you not been listening to this whole debate?
No, but where does
The
that money?
sports ground
No,
reserve.
You don't have an account called sports.
We do. Trace research
Bank
account's going to tell us what the balance.
Bank account.
It's a reserve. Just like many other reserves have a balance, yes.
Where does the actual cash sit?
You're not confused with the parks and reserve.
I'm just asking where it sits.
He's not listening. Trey, how are you getting on there,
It
please?
sits in the investment.
The remaining funds will be 224,000
After
if this was approved.
if it was approved. So there's still 220,000 left in the account. In the parks and reserves account, Councillor Cathwood.
Sports
Sports
ground.
ground.
Sports ground.
It sits in which account?
There you go, Councillor Cathwood.
Where is that account sit?
So
With the Westpac Bank.
I'll second that, Your Worship, but I'd like to hear the motion read out before we vote.
Right, would you like Councillor McAtamney to read it out? or-
The council approves funding of 50,832 to the Inclusive Recreation Centre Incorporated in 26-27 as an increase to their operational grant from 59,168 up to, just list them up to 110,000 funded from the sports ground reserve.
Thank you. Impeccable, Councillor McAtamney. Everybody clear on the recommendation?
That was
Further discussion.
Yes, or two.
Up to.
Up to.
No,
Two.
It's gone.
Any further discussion? No further discussion? Well, I'd like to put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands.
Aye.
Only one, Councillor Cathwood's the only one that is. Those against, please raise your hands. Thank you.
Leaving this.
No, I'll see what's.
No. That's all right. She's waiting. Coming back next year.
The motion was one, Councillor.
No,
Oh, right. No, I just see you chatting away over there.
Yeah, it's right.
Oh,
Put on the chin.
we need to roll a duck tape.
Councillor Holman.
You're live streaming.
Agenda item number 2.7, please, councillors. Questions for Lily or Mike, please? You're burning holes in me, Councillor McAtamney. What would you like to say?
I'm waiting for a statement.
Councillor Graham.
For you. There's probably a question for Steve. Like they've come to council before and there's been issues about Is it about how much or the length of time that we fund them? Is that what it is? Is that one of the issues that they want to?
Yeah.
That through the length of time.
Yeah.
I was also there was a couple of things. One was obviously the need to pay. There was an explanation as to why you need to pay people for it, and also there was issues because it was a Dunedin based outfit as well at the time. I think those things were raised. I think there has been answers to those over time as well, to try and address that side of things. But it's an issue that's right throughout the country, isn't it, in terms of having to pay for volunteers, and that the surf life saving model has a model of unpaid volunteers and paid professionals, but like firefighting to an extent. And other times we've said no, we'll only pay what we have, and you only get the surf life saving service for the period that you can pay for. So whatever you approve is the length of time you get service.
So just clarifying, this isn't the local surf life saving that's applying for this. It's the national body.
The target body. Might you be able to confirm that, would you? Because they're not pretty specific in the submission that there's X amount of hours or weeks over the summer to put a paid lifeguard there. Is that correct?
That's correct. So it's over the summer months. And it's the national body of surf living and Z that are submitting for the Kaka Point area.
So this reflects the additional cost, I guess, to provide the national body is providing.
Yeah, and I think that the people read their submission papers, that all that information was provided. Councillor Crossley.
So, forgive me if I'm wrong, but the last couple of years, their statement was that they were bringing people from Dunedin to cover because we had an ageing lifeguard, but a really strong junior and nipper lifeguards coming through. Has that balanced it out now that we have them coming into the seniors? And that's why they were pushing this money. Where historically we had given it to Kaka Point. It was to Surf Life Saving New Zealand, but they were covering themselves by saying they had to cover the cost of bringing lifeguards south because our lifeguard numbers weren't high enough. So there was a lot of juniors coming through the ranks. How's that transition? So, like, would they still be happy with 25,000? They won't be, but if the transition's there and they're not having to travel as far, we should get a similar sort of service.
For your worship, I don't know the specific answer to that question, but from my understanding is, like you said, they are working on their junior volunteers and getting them trained up so that at some point in the future we can look locally to actually utilise what we've got, but at the moment it's still needing to go for that regional space.
Thank you.
I'm not really coming on a question point of view, but I had a bit of a deeper dive into the accounts because they've been coming to us for the last 3 or 4 years saying we need X amount of this. But they have income of approximately 34 million. A lot of that's government funding, but they take in 929,000 of community grants. And that's the only place I can see where there's obviously other councils and other organisations that give grants. There's 65 different surf life savings clubs in the country that they provide services to. So we're actually, I'm guessing, pretty generous at 25,000 compared to what I guess is coming out of a lot of other councils. And I think they may have just been, they're spending 20 million, just under $20 million on what they call club support. So I'm assuming that's funding that goes out to those 65 different clubs around the country, so that'll include Labour. So, yeah, I'm just thinking that they've been just putting the squeeze on us a wee bit with threats for that funding. Yeah, because clearly a lot of bigger councils, or some, must pay none, I'm guessing, and the bigger ones might pay not a lot more. I'm firmly very reluctant to give them any more. Looking at that, and they did run an operating surplus, just under $1 million.
Thank you for your eye for detail, Councillor McIntyre.
Your worship, I suppose the point to consider though is that at the end of the day, and I'm only I hear what you're saying in that sense, that at the end of the day though, that they will decide, won't they, what service they give. So
the level,
if, no matter what we might say, and we might have very valid points around the financial structure and what they are or aren't doing, at the end of the day, they can choose what level of service they provide. So it won't necessarily mean, and it hasn't in the past, has it? When we didn't provide additional, we didn't get additional hours gifted to us by them, unfortunately.
Further discussion, councillors? Most certainly a fantastic service that they're providing to not just the Clutha district but to the nation. Anyone's life that's saved, you can't really put a value on that, can you? So would someone like to make a recommendation?
I've got to back off that page. I'd like to approve that we pay funding of $25,561 to serve Lifesaving New Zealand 26-27.
So, okay. District wide.
Funded from wherever it went come from last year.
District wide.
Sharon's got it.
UAGC.
Funding is already included. It is via the UAGC.
So it's already tied up in the UAGC?
It's already included.
Yep. So no rating impact? Zero rating. Lovely. Do I have a seconder? Councillor McCrosty. Further discussion? So the recommendation only changed, it's in your agendas, is the value has changed to $25,561. Go for a show of hands to support. All in favour? Thank you.
Excuse me. Can we please add to that recommendation that just do confirming existing funding included? So we don't.
Instead of approve, just confirm.
Instead of approving additional funding.
Okay.
Just so that when we go through, we don't.
Confirm existing funding of 25,000.
Yes.
I'll just confide in my right hand here. You're good with that, mate. Thank you, Sharon. Right, I think the message was to target about 12:15 for a brief break for lunch. So we'll move on to 2.8. Questions, please. No questions? Discussion. Councillor Graham.
I may come across as a heartless person on this one, but I'm firmly against it. I look at our debt profile, and most of that's been created by a central government that makes us comply with everything without actually adding much funding to. And here is one of their core responsibilities, and just flogging on to us, and if we keep paying for it, they'll keep letting us. So also I noticed that we're the only ones that only council that does contribute to it. So I'm sorry, but I can't, even though I have full sympathy for them, I cannot support it, because to me it is not one of council's core responsibilities.
Councillor Frost.
Actually, I'm solidly in Councillor Graham's court today. This group has funding of about $1.2 million from their submission earlier on, so my suggestion to them would be just to tighten your belt a little bit. And, you know, their wage bill seems rather large to me for the number of people that they employed, so tighten your belt a bit would be my advice.
Thank you, Councillor Frost, but I'll totally take it to context, his comment there about being in Councillor Graham's cab. We already knew about his other condition that he was talking about in his opening statement. Heartless. Councillor Crosty.
Look, I've been for this in the past, but I've started to get a little bit ruthless myself. And when they come up here, and you know, they're based in Gore, and they haven't got any funding from Gore, as Councillor Graham said, look, I'm sorry, it's going to be a no from me.
Councillor Smith?
No comment, please.
No comment. Councillor Harrison?
Thoughts on that?
Councillor Cathwood?
Nothing there. Happy to vote though.
Pardon?
I'm ready to vote.
Are you? Good to go. Councillor Kennedy? Any comment?
I hear what you guys are saying, but we are in hard times in our communities. This is where it comes out and where things go wrong. We as a community didn't have anything for people in our community. We were having to ship mums and children or dads, whichever side it happened to be elsewhere. I'm sorry that, I will be going the other way. I still feel that we have a duty for our community, that we need to have something here. And I know it's probably the wrong pot for it to be coming to, but hey, there's been wrong pots coming for a long time. It is also something that they may, be able to approach the health sector of our district a bit more on, but I'm still in favour of having something for around our community that our constituents can use. It's a long way if you've got to go way outside your area.
I'll probably be following along the lines of especially what Councillor Frost mentioned, particularly in Councillor Graham, particularly the fact that Gore and South District Councils don't contribute, and also that they do have a reasonably healthy balance sheet, and if they really want to fund this, they'll be able to do it.
Councillor Cotton?
My thoughts are along Councillor McAtammany's.
Oh, well, while we're still in discussion question mode, I actually do carry a bit of uppy for this group here. They do provide a good service, and I know we're a long way from Gore, but in the time of need, that possibly for the person that's on the receiving end, whether it be one of the partners or the children or whatever, it's probably too far away. So I'd like to see the council contribute something. I don't agree with the value that's here. And I do agree, it'd be good to see our country cousins step up and chuck a bit towards it at Gore and Southland district councils. But of course, we don't have any influence on them. But I'd be very open if anyone wanted to change the recommendation, the value, to a small contribution, koha or something, just to acknowledge the good work that they do. So, Councillor Smith.
Just adding on to that, I'm not sure if it's Gore doesn't want to, from their talk last week, doesn't want to give money. I don't think they've asked, which is a concern. From the way they come across when we asked if they said no. So you'd be thinking they should be asking for both.
Any further discussion or questions, or does anyone want to make a recommendation? Councillor Frost?
Yeah, I'll make a recommendation, Your Honour, that the council does not approve funding of 35,000 to the Gore Clutha Whānau Refuge in 2026-27 for a continuation of the operational grant funded from.
You wouldn't like to recommend a different figure or just
This is
no?
no.
Straight out no. Seconder for that, Councillor Graham. Further discussion? No further discussion.
Yeah.
You've got a burning desire there, Councillor Cathro. I can see it in your eyes.
No, I'm ready to vote, mate.
Ready to vote?
Yeah, I'll just make the point. I think I made it last year for a few of these community groups that if they have a healthy balance sheet, in things we know things are tough out there. So should they not be dipping into it first before coming to the rest of our community to keep that balance sheet topped up?
Fair comment, Councillor McIntyre. Well, there's no further discussion or recommendations. I'll go to the vote. For those in favour, please raise your hands.
Aye.
And those against? I am time conscientious. It's 12 minutes, 10 past 12, and I see agenda item number 2.9 on the agenda there. Councillor Catherwood, or
I think we'll take a walk.
do you think? I'm just a wee bit concerned lunch might get cold.
Happy to open discussion.
Councillor Catherwood, would you like to leave the questions? Staff, please. Page 1, 2, 3. No questions?
Discussion.
Questions for staff, please, councillors.
No.
No, she said none. Had your opportunity.
Oh, Your Worship, just, Lily wants to just make a point.
And Your Worship, on the table, you'll note that Awaka Swimming Brass, their two separate grants are lower in the table on the list because of they're still listed in their separate submissions at those values, whereas in the actual report we've clumped them together, so they sit a wee bit higher in terms of monetary value.
So they're over the page.
Yeah, on these pages.
Yeah, what were you saying?
Right, who wants to get a conversation going here?
The question.
Or a question for staff?
Oh, I'll just ask a question. Sharon, I suppose, is just see under pools for Balclutha, internal charges of internal others of 417,000 with swimming pools. Yeah. Overheads, internal overheads to run our swimming pool of 470, and then just.
Sorry, councillor, these are not costs directly associated or attributed to the activity. So your statement, that's the cost of the internal cost of running the swimming pool. And no, it's simply the model attributes by the model mechanics, council's internal cost to it. But I don't think it's correct to say that you know it relates to anything particular directly attributable to running the swimming pool. It's just coming out of the machine.
But is it not fair to say that you take 1.6 million in rates towards swimming pools and use?
That is correct.
So we take 1.6 million pools and we use a total of what, 1.3 in Balclutha? Those internals, is that right?
That's what you're reading is the total cost for each of those activities. That would be the total cost, yes.
You quite happy with that?
I'm just checking it.
Checking. You are on the finance portfolio. You've got to be asking this question as well in advance.
I just, Milton, was internals was. $106,000 Milton Pool internals.
Yeah, right. Have we got any other questions? Start.
Just checking.
You're quite right there, Councillor Catherwood.
Oh, those
your community of
just
interest.
checking.
We're relying on your.
Would you like a discussion?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a story behind it all.
Well, myself, obviously I'm involved with our local pool and I see the good efforts that they put in. I understand how much money the ward puts in towards pools throughout the whole district. And I see we're asking for a very small portion of what our local ratepayer pays towards pools to come back towards our pools. So I'll be pushing to approve funding of 5,000 recommendation for the Oweka swimming baths for the gas, hot water and solar capacity. But I'd actually be funding it from within the current UAGC budget. It comes out of 1.6 million we take off the ratepayer towards pools. So to have no rating impact, I'd like to see these costs approved today, but to be coming out of, so the staff will have to do some rejigging of budgets so that it doesn't actually create a rating impact. It comes out of the UAGC pool fund. That would be for both recommendations.
Question, is that possible?
If you trying to understand what council means, I mean.
What I mean is that that those figures somehow now can be absorbed within the overall figure of the UAGC attributed towards swimming pools.
What you'd be suggesting is the equivalent of that amount of dollars that you're being asking for, which is
not as an extra,
whatever that amount is absorbed by effectively council's existing budgets.
Correct.
So that the effect of that doesn't get charged through. But I mean that I mean you can do whatever you like in terms of that. So we have to find savings to effectively in our budgets to offset that. And to date, you know, we've presented budgets that you've currently approved up to this point that you know, include all those operational costs. You know, then, as I said, at the end of the day, you'd be just simply telling us to find savings somewhere for that, so it doesn't have a rating impact from our own operating budgets across the organisation. I just suggest that if we were going to go down that pathway, it gets a little bit. We have to be careful because is that a precedent that's going to come up that suddenly every time you're now going to suggest that I have to find savings within the budgets for what you want. I possibly would have asked that we addressed it earlier. You know, because you've effectively approved the rating level of all the budgets I've presented, and now you're suggesting if you go down this pathway and that precedent that we might actually, you know, have a stack of requests totaling up that you want me to go back and just remove those from budgets that were previously approved. So that would be my caution to that suggestion.
Well, my suggestion would be that we look at the salaries of 48,000 at Milton and internal costs of 106 and internal costs in Balclutha of internal others of 417 and what's the wage bill there? 438,000 salaries. So I still think it could be done.
Councillor Cotton, then I'll go to you, Councillor McTammy.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just on Councillor Catherwood's thoughts, the question for you, Steve, so if you can't find those savings, this wouldn't happen, would it?
No, I mean, it's like
If we
anything
went
else.
down this track, I mean.
I mean, my issue is probably more around if you have as a principle that aspects of community funding requests that are made through submissions, right, you find a funding source from reductions in operational budgets, right? We don't have any ability to do any homework to tell you any consequences of reductions in operational budgets, which we would have had when we first debated and consulted on the budgets. Right? So that's my problem is you can make a decision that says, CEO, put X amount of dollars, $50,000, $100,000, we're approving it, you find operational savings for it. You could do that. But my point is that that's fine, but I then go away and you have no idea what impacts I might make to a level of service as a consequence. Whereas you did have, when you first approved the budgets going for consultation, and we had all that ability to say, hey, you're putting too much money into pools. And by the way, we did suggest reduce the budget for Milton swimming pool salaries, right? And you decided, and we consulted and you decided not to. So that's my concern, is you can do what you like, but that's the problem that you create for something off the hoof.
Yes, and I was going to make that point that there was a pulse on there. So thank you. A lot of work. Councillor McAtamney.
The CEO has just reiterated what I was going to say, that we had the opportunity the other day to reduce the operating expenses for pools and we chose not to take it.
That's you told, mate.
Further discussion, please, councillors. Well, if there's no further questions or discussions, I'm looking towards councillor Catherwood to make some recommendation.
Yeah, I'll happily approve both recommendations, and I'm sticking to funded from within existing swimming pool UAGC budget. I'm positive that this establishment can find savings of $17,500 from $1.6 million.
Just a point that's been raised, technical point, Your Worship. The second recommendation, because I think you're doing both, as a TBC for the amount. So was there an amount?
Operational grant, an increase. It was just the same that they requested, wasn't it? What was the request?
12,530.
1 or 2%.
For your worship, 2% of the UAGC and the Catlin source at the time of the agenda being written is 14,766.
Yeah.
That's still the same.
Yeah.
True?
It won't be the same right now with the decisions made, but was it the time?
It was. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Won't be a lot.
So it'd be a total of 19,000 savings out of the 1.6 million.
So you're sticking to the figure on the handout, Lily, the 14,766?
Just for the
Just use the figure on that.
5,302.47.
So do we have a seconder for councillor Catherwood's motion? Councillor McCroskey? Discussion. Councillor.
So, through you, so if staff cannot find savings of these amounts, they don't get it?
Well, through Your Worship, the answer to the question is I can find a saving straight away. We close the Milton pool.
Thank you.
That answers your.
Councillor McAtamney.
I could support the Awaka swimming bars getting an increase to the operating grant, but it have to come out of extra UAGC. And as far as the gas hot water showers, that's a one-off installation that should come out of investment capital. As a one-off payment. So I won't be supporting Councillor Catherwood's motion as it stands.
Councillor Harrison. Councillor Smith.
No, sorry, yeah.
No,
So if I could read the recommendation again, because I'm a wee bit lost.
Yeah.
So if the council approves funding of $5,000 to the 2026 for gas hot water showers, funded from within existing UAGC swimming pool budgets. That the council approves funding of 14,766 for the Awaka swimming bars in only the 2026-27 year for an increase in the operational grant, 12,000 to 14,776, funded from within the UAGC swimming pools. I'd just like to add, that's the recommendation.
Yeah. I think Anne's got that. Yeah. I'll go back to Councillor Frost.
So under that proposal, is there an increase to the rate of what I'm reading on this piece of paper, $5,028? Is that right? Or would there be no increase under that recommendation?
Zero.
So through your worship, my understanding is you would expect me to find savings so that would have no rating impact. I've just advised you what I believe I would do.
You'd have to come to council with. Or no, can you do that under your delegated authority?
Well, your worship, that's the question, is that if you're expecting me to find the savings, do I then have to come back to you to tell you the level of service changes that we have to make as a consequence, or am I going to have the authority to just go and do it? I know what I put up to you. I've just put it back to you that you save it by this. You could say no, of course, and that we're going to debate where we're going to find it, but I have to find it. That's the easiest way to find it, your worship. It's in swimming pools, right?
Yep. Yeah. I'll go to Councillor Cotton first, then Councillor Graham, then Councillor Ross, then Councillor McTammey.
Thank you, your worship. Just for you, I want to support this or getting this funding, but it does worry me that if the CEO can't find the funds, that without closing the Milton pool, which we've resolved to leave open, that the community won't get support. That worries me.
Right. Councillor Graham.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, through this funding method, to get a pass, there's going to be a drop in the level of service. That's what it is. So if you're prepared to explain to all your ratepayers why they've had a drop in the level of service, by all means, but I won't be supporting it under this funding method.
Councillor Frost.
So how much a year do we spend on pools in the Clutha district? I think it's north of $1 million, isn't it? 1.2 or something, if I remember correctly. So
$1.6 million.
$19,000 out of a $1.2 million budget is something like about 0.15% or something.
$1.6 million.
So I would find it hard to believe that you need to close a pool to make a saving like that. So yeah. That's all I've got to say, really.
Councillor McTammey.
Okay, if that motion's been seconded, I can move an amendment, can't I?
You can.
Yeah, so I would like to, close to lunchtime, I'm going to move that council approves funding of $5,000 to the Awaka swimming bars in 26-27 for gas, hot water showers, solar capacity, funded from investment capital. And also that council approves funding of, what's that confirmed? 14,766 to the Awaka swimming baths in 26-27 for an increase to the operational grant funded from the UAGC.
Don't put too much pressure on Councillor Megatemi, please, Councillor Kennedy.
No,
Right.
yeah.
Sorry, just to help finance, really, can you confirm if that's the total or that's the increase that's been proposed?
Increase.
The increase being proposed is 14,700.
So it'll be over $27,000 as the operating.
Correct.
I'm just double checking because that wasn't what was in the.
Yes. I'll have Ange read out what she's got.
Hang on.
So just hi-ho.
So takes it to what, Jules? 27?
In total.
Yeah.
22,313.
Extra.
I'll back up there. I'm reading it here that the increase was 5,028.
Yeah.
The final column there.
That's what he's on. That's the rating in. Yeah. 25 grand on the rate. It's about.
Okay, right.
Right. Quiet, please, just so Ange can document Councillor Megatemi's recommendation.
I'd like to back right off that second one there. I'll really muck it up. I thought we were only increasing it by a couple of thousand. Oh, no, I can leave it, it's what I said.
So can you read out what we've got?
Yes.
Quiet, please.
No, I haven't read anything.
No, I'll go for both. I'll change the second one. We'll make a round number to increase the operational grant from $12,530 to $15,000 funded from the UAGC.
Just wait for the answer.
So the council approves funding
Quiet, please, councillors.
15,000 in 26-27 for an increase in the operational grant from 12,530 to 15,000.
Yeah.
Funded from the UAGC.
And you've still got the first one.
The first one.
Yeah, I did the first one.
Right. Does anyone want that reread? Are we taking them individually or both?
It's an amendment that's got both, you wish.
Got both?
I'm happy with both.
Yep. So we've got the moved by Councillor Megatemi, seconded by Councillor Kennedy. Any further discussion? Councillor Catherwood.
I won't be supporting this recommendation. It's not what they actually come anywhere near what they've come for. And just to give you a heads up, we operate this pool with a whole group of volunteers. The power bill alone to run at 29.5 degrees Celsius is in the vicinity of over $3,000 a month alone. It runs for 7 months of the year. It's $21,000 just in electricity. For chemicals, huge, massive community effort. The reason that they've come for this funding is because that's what it takes to operate a pool. We're asking for a minuscule percentage of what people of that community pay for towards pools in this district. So $15,000 in total does not suffice to that community. So I will not be supporting.
Further discussion? Councillor Frost.
So it's not a further 15,000 on top of what they're getting, it's 15,000 in total. Is that what they're saying? I thought it was a further 15,000 on top of what they got, or the figure over there was actually 14,766. I thought.
Yeah, I rounded it to 15,000. That's an extra 15 on what they were. I rounded it from 12,530 to 15,000. $15,000 operation.
Thank you.
Further discussion? So we're really clear on what we're voting on here, because there's a bit of confusion, I feel. Can you read that once more, please, Ange?
So this is for the amendment. Is that council approves funding of $5,000 to the Aweka Swimming Baths in 26-27 for gas, hot water showers, solar capacity funded from investment capital. And that council approves funding of up to, for the Aweka Swimming Baths in 26-27 for an increase in the operational grant from 12,530 to 15,000 funded from investment capital.
That's for UAGC.
Right, from that one's from your end.
Page 24.
Right, so we're all clear? Councillor Cotton.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. So effectively, from what we've been told with the figures here, we're 10K short of that group breaking even. Is that correct?
Well, I think a lot of that stems around in our agenda packs, year 2, where the methodology is applied in here. Normal allocation plus 50% of UAGC allocated to pools. So the cast of net over the whole district's pools.
The year 3, 26-27. The normal allocation of 12.5 plus 2% of the total UAGC collected from the calendar. And a total of 14,766, which is 27,266. Separate to the one-off gas.
What figure did you give them, Dane? 27?
On page 124.
Yep.
27,266.
27,266.
For your worship, it should be 27,296.
296.
As the normal allocation year 3 should say 12,530.
Ah.
It's a pretty big discussion document. They're proposing a similar approach as applied to other community-owned pools in the district, so it does raise the cause of a bit more consultation, does it not?
We know what we're voting on, don't we?
What was that, sorry?
We know what we're voting on, don't we?
Yep. But I'm just adding in there. Right, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour of the amended recommendation, please raise your hands. Larry's hand up, or?
So we're voting on both or just recommendation 1?
No, both. The amended recommendation, which is a shortfall.
Is that a no, Larry?
Sorry.
Yep.
Just thinking, sorry.
Right. Councillor Graham, Councillor McIntyre, Councillor Kennedy. All those against, please raise your hands. Recommendation not carried.
Original.
Right. Back to the
Original recommendation.
original recommendation. Further discussion? Councillor Kennedy.
This, I know, is a hard one, but going forward, we have how many pools in our community? So every pool's gonna come here and now want their piece of pie. Okay, this is what Councillor Catherwood is referring to. So I see we have Tuapeka here, Clinton, Luther Valley, West Otago, what other areas have pools? Pride. What am I missing?
There's 9.
There's nine community pools we have out there. Okay. Council is, pays for Clutha and our new facility that's going to be built. Although that still has got, community funding in it as well. I don't know, I'm just mindful that you're opening a big can of worms here. If we all take what we put in for UAGC, then we're going to have a real, I don't know, dispute on our hands. So, sorry, I have nothing against the Weka swimming pool getting their 5,000 through the investment fund for the showers. I don't have a problem for them getting an increase in their operational grant, but to actually sit and pick out what ratepayers in that district, so all that UAGC goes to there. I don't see it's going to work in the long run. So I won't be approving.
Councillor Graham.
Yeah, through you. Look, I really don't think this is the format to be changing a funding mechanism as drastically as you're proposing, to be honest. I think it's probably there's other places that we should be doing
it. Councillor Kaplan.
So that's a topic that just keeps coming back, isn't it? It's a topic that we've agreed around this table that would go and get sorted out. It hasn't got sorted out. You're going to watch Kaitangata come when they fire up their new pool. It'll be $30,000 a year short in funding to heat it as well. You're going to see Lawrence Tuapeka knocking on the door pretty shortly. They didn't come for any grant funding for their cleaner this year. So it's going to come out in the wash, all of this, in the long-term plan. So what we're asking for is it's costing a heck of a lot more than $5,000 to install showers. So the community's already putting a heck more funding in for this new project. So it's probably not even 50-50 by the time that job's done. And then we're asking for our increasing budget in our operational grant, our yearly grant, because we haven't got to the stage of sorting this problem out. So it's another Band-Aid patch this year that we're asking for. I've simply asked, we're asking for an increase of about 19, the increase is 14,666 and 5, it's 19,000 coming out of a budget that's sitting there with $1.6 million taken from the ratepayer with swimming pools. Minuscule. That's what I'm asking.
You were asking, or the Weka swimming pool?
No, yeah, that's what we're asking. Just so everyone understands, like it's a minuscule.
Your Worship, I've been to make a point, staff there, in the report, it talks about the 10th of December workshop where you agreed that the equitable long-term funding mechanisms would be, for swimming pools would be developed during the long-term planning process. Correct. And that we would assess individual funding requests through the annual plan. But the outcome of what you're proposing is not, you've got part of that with respect, you've got the request for the individual funding, but the outcome of the funding mechanism is actually attacking or attached to the long-term equitable funding, because what you're doing is you're going to require me to reduce a level of service in Belclutha or Milton to fund the other swimming pools. You're actually applying the equitable long-term debate discussion by your funding mechanism for the request for information. That's the point that I wanted to make, is that you're saying at swimming pools, the only swimming pools that get funded by council, that money you're quoting is the Belclutha and Milton pools. So when we're taking it for the pool funding that you're asking me to fund it, it's coming out of those two pools. And that is part of what you said you were going to debate in the LTP.
Internal others in Belclutha is 417,000. Taken from pool money.
Councillor McAtim.
I failed before to get to lunch, so I'm going to try and break a deadlock here again. I just want a bit of help with the recommendation. The first part of the recommendation, I'd like to move exactly as stated before. The second part, that we approve additional funding to the swimming baths paid for from the UAGC. Now, if we can have an amount, I'll move. If we can agree on an amount, we'll move that second recommendation to give some more money to the Waka swimming baths.
Total is
From the UAGC.
27,296.
From the UAGC.
I just need to check your wish. I'm not 100% sure that the outstanding was specifically whether another amendment can be proposed by the same.
No, well, will someone else please do it?
You say it and I'll do it.
First one to stand, I want the first one to stand, but I want the second one to be adjusted so that we can shift on. But it must come from our ordinary UAGC or pool rates.
So what amount did you do?
I think it's 27,296.
27,266.
No, 296. There's a
266 in the paper.
Yeah, Lily made you aware that there was a mistake in the 266.
Your Worship, the 12,500 quoted in year 3 should be 12,530, making that total amount 27,296.
27,296.
No, we'll get the same result.
I think though the methodology of the calculations here is pretty unfair to be deciding on the day, and because it only actually applies to the specific application here and the submission. So there's a number of other community pools throughout the district that would not benefit from that at all if we did go with that methodology today. Councillor Graham.
Right, so through you, to expedite the whole thing, can we move on that first recommendation for a start, get that out of the way, the one on the $5,000 for the hot water showers?
No, you can't, sorry, because you have to deal with it, do it as an amendment. Because there's a motion on the floor, correct? It's been moved and seconded.
No one's, did anyone second this amendment?
The amendment failed, so the resolution still stands, and the way to do it is by an amendment. So it needs to be a different amendment, another amendment.
Amendment change. Bring it out of the UAGC. The ordinary pool rate, don't go
Councillor Frost.
Your Worship, so the second one here, all we're looking for is a figure after the 125302 be confirmed. So we're looking for a figure for that, aren't we? And so when we go back to our paper here, it says 14,766. Total request 24504. Impact on rates is 5,028. Is that correct? BBC on the UAGC.
Chair waving.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think what happened in this case is similar to those other ones where we have just put across the additional funding requested from last year. So that 5,028 is the additional from what was requested last year, but last year's is not the baseline. So
correct.
Last year they received 9,738 on top of their 12,000. This year they've asked for 14,766 on top of the 12,000. So the 14,766 will be what the additional rates would be should that be approved. And the 5,000 was the difference between what they asked for last year and this year. Apologies for that confusion.
Additional.
There's quite a bit of confusion going on here.
So are we still waiting, Your Worship? Have we got a resolution resolved as an amendment?
No.
You need it, can't be councillor McCammon.
Yeah, but he was going to word it.
I just want the existing, whatever the amount is, to come from the existing funding. We're not tinkering with any other full budgets. It'll be an additional.
If you would like, I can try to do that for you. So what you're proposing is an amendment, councillor Graham, that's what you're asking us to try and do for you and that you will confirm, is that council approves funding of 5,000 to oil swimming baths for gas, hot water showers, solar courtesy funded from capital investment capital, and that council approves funding of the 14,766 to Iwaka swing baths in 26/27 for an increase in the operational grant funded from UAGC. Is that the amendment you wish to propose?
Which gives you an operational.
Correct.
Which gives you rates. on
Which
page
is
502.
quite clear on that, councillor Graham. Recommendation.
You got that, Ange?
Yeah. So I've got it, yeah, isn't it?
So you need a seconder for that if that's a proposed amendment?
Need that TBC to be.
Do we have a seconder for that recommendation? Councillor Frost, excuse me, Sharon.
Just further to what I just spoke, and before that 5,000, there is an impact on rates of 14,766.
Correct.
Yeah, just so you're all clear, it's not 5,000.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Councillor Frost seconded the amendment. Your worship.
Vote 'em up.
No further discussion. Right, everyone's clear.
There is none.
Don't let your appetite get in the road of making this decision. So everyone's clear. All right, I'll go to the vote then. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Unanimous. Thank you. Moving forward, councillor Catterwood, just be very careful with some of your wording because it gets get close to a conflict of interest that we all declared this morning when you talk about I figures, my figures, and it's actually the submitter's figures.
Your worship, we do need to now make that the substantive motion.
Substantive motion, right.
So that is the substantive motion now, and just need to be voted.
Right, so as that go to the vote on the substantive motion, all those in favour, please raise your arms. Unanimous. We will now break for lunch.
When you want to come back, your worship.